these buns to go live. Let's welcome Discussing Tabletop. It's September 24th, 2022.
It's a day. It's nice outside.
It's kind of cool.
It's not a day that will live in infamy. That's still a couple months away.
That's a month away.
Yeah,
I actually had to go because it was cool enough this morning to switch from my around the house shorts to my around the house pants.
See, I always wear pants.
Since my room tends to be the hottest or coldest of the household, that's why I've got the around the house shorts, because then I don't have to worry about it. If it was well regulated and we had central any kind of air, then maybe I wouldn't worry about it. But yeah, I hope everybody had a pretty good week. You two, do you think your weeks went well? Guest host today, Lightning, Momo.
Yeah, Lightning
co-host today. Yeah.
My week's been alright. I watched the hot new anime, Cyberpunk Edge Runners, and by watched I mean I've seen 3 episodes.
I think I've watched 4 now, and
it's pretty good.
Oh, it's amazing. If you've played the game, there are so many references
it's
to
real
it.
good. It also, for my benefit, doesn't feel like anime.
Yeah, it's Studio Trigger. It's really good.
Is this a thing that could they take? This is the thing. Could they take more of these really good worlds and do stuff like this? Then is that a hope that someone with sanity could make us something Shadowrun, or honestly not Forgotten Realms? Actually, let's skip D&D and just go to something that's not one of the Paizo games we already have.
Hey, we're already getting the D&D movie. That's gonna be an experience.
Oh,
honestly. I felt going the comedy route, the slight comedy route. If they do it good enough, then it won't be bad.
If it's not like Joss Whedon comedy, I'll be fine with it, because I cannot stand the comedy in Marvel movies. And that's the hot comedy in movies nowadays. The shitty, shitty witty remarks.
I have a slight tolerance for that kind of thing, and so I can go to a level of it. But it's sort of you got to do it right. And even Marvel movies do it okay, and it varies from movie to movie. I think is the problem a lot of times.
Depends on the director.
Yeah. Plenty of them do it terribly. Some of them do it right.
It's very true.
But that kind of humor, it's a very hit or miss is the problem. There's no middle ground for that type of humor, I think, is the issue.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, my week was fine. I managed to live through birthday celebration from last week, honestly, which is fun.
Ooh, you were up for a long time.
I was a 10.5-hour day, and then I had some things I had to take care of afterwards. And then I went to bed, and then I had to get up early because we were driving to New Jersey to visit my grandmother, technically to celebrate my birthday. Though the fact is, because she's 97 now, she had to be reminded it was my birthday. She's at that time where she's it's oh yeah, it's your birthday. It's yes, it was. Thanks, Grandma. Here's a gift card, or here's a card, that I just wrote some stuff into. Thanks, Grandma. Yeah, I do love you, but and then it was nice because also apparently my uncle and aunt who live in Arizona were in, so I got to see them. But then I had to race back and go to a birthday celebration between me and 2 of the other friends, Blaze, who had their birthday this past week. Everybody, happy birthday to Blaze, friend of the show and the channel.
Who may or may not be lurking.
Related birthday, Blaze.
Yep. And another friend of ours who runs our joint occasional Friday Pathfinder 2nd Edition game. So the 3 of us all have our birthdays right around the area. We had our kind of joint event because that Sunday evening was the best thing. Got a couple other friends in. Got to see Joe in person and Blaze in person. That was really nice. And, but it was a long weekend. And I think at the beginning of the show I thought about this, and I'm because it's role-playing adjacent, I'm going to do my report on I played some Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous first. To make us both...
I'm ready.
Okay. It's fine. There's some terrible stuff about it, but it's fine. And the discussion with Cell was interesting because I'm honestly, I've played a couple of CRPGs, and I think I've been always okay at them. But I think there's things about this game which the translation between CRPG and Pathfinder don't work as well. they wanted the Pathfinder system, but they also want it to be very CRPG. And the thing is, I think there's some incompatibility issues. It's like the simpler system of something like Divinity 2
or
I was
Divinity 1. Just gonna wait for you to like finish up your comment, and I was gonna ask you about that. Is like, because Divinity is kind of its own system.
Yeah,
but it's simple, and I think that helps it. Like
it has some complexity, but it's more of environmental and player choice for like comboing effects.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's let's cut out all the Crusade things, which are the two different Crusade mechanics. Let's cut those out for a second and just go by the straight game rules. I think one of the major issues I've seen is with Pathfinder, it's all about feat options, which they have some decent ones, but there are big holes, I feel like, that sometimes I don't have a good choice for a feat. I don't have a good choice for a mythic ability. I don't know what a good direction would be. Knowing what your NPCs are to begin with for your main character, that's a good one. I didn't look that up. That's a mistake on my end to know kind of like what my team is, where I want to develop them. Understanding some of the abilities, because they give you just these people that are these random archetypes or prestige classes, which work, but also understanding them is a good thing. And
I think, though, that on the topic of like NPCs and building your team, a good D&D adventure RPG system or whatever like that, they need to have it so the first time you play, that your party, you'll be given like, here's a tank, here's a DPS, here's a mage who can possibly heal or whatever, and then after that you can kind of mix it up a little bit so that when you're building your character, you can build whatever you want, and then you have at least 3 or 4 NPCs who will be, if you don't touch them, you just do recommended for what they're set up for, they will be fine, because that means that a new player coming in doesn't have to do research on the game that they're currently playing.
Oh, they do versions of that. Big sin. But I feel like all of them need like a little like, okay, the only one that probably doesn't need a lot of work is a goddamn paladin, because it's a paladin. It's simple.
Yeah.
There's a paladin. They give me as a healer / kind of rogue character. No, it was a healer character, a spirit shaman. I don't know what the fuck they do.
Why not just a cleric?
Yeah.
No. Why would you ever have a cleric in the campaign about going to kill demons?
They give you one in Chapter 2 who's not a great cleric. They give you kind of a mediocre... And they give you an oracle who's, like, not a great... Who's a healing oracle, which is fine, but, like, I feel like there isn't, like, a good build for him other than just a heal tank, you know? And that's the kind of reason I don't use them. A life oracle's fine.
You can make good oracles, but... Yeah. Oracle takes a lot more work to make good than a cleric.
Yes, cleric is like
boom.
The easiest thing to make.
And the cleric, he's fine. He's just like there. There's nothing special about him, you know. His character's kind of weak too. But the first chapter, they then give you a DPS, which is not a fighter archer, not even a ranger archer in the first chapter. They give you the bow archer, the bow monk archer.
Zen monk?
The Zen archer.
Zen archery?
Yeah.
Zen archery's neat.
It's neat,
but it's not better than just a straight fighter.
No.
Especially in Pathfinder, because you can get the mighty bows for extra strength damage. You can get rapid shot, depending on what you use. You can't do because I did a character in 3rd edition. Well, sort of 3rd edition. 3-point bastard, basically, because it was a video game version. And I made there was like a Zen archer bard or something. It was something weird, but because I was using like heavy armor, I had wisdom. Maybe I was a cleric. Maybe I did a Zen archer cleric, and I did it with a heavy crossbow. So I had a heavy crossbow, Zen archery, and I think I had rapid reload, so I didn't have the reloading penalty. So like it wasn't good, but it was at least interesting, and it didn't matter in that game because it wasn't like super hardcore min-maxy. But like,
yeah, Zen Archer was fine. I like his character, honestly. And the thing is, I like him as a character. He's the one I like the most out of all of them because he has the most actual character. Not that other ones don't have okay backstory or actual character. he's very interesting. He's a neutral good mongrel man who's descended from like horrible cursed crusaders, who has this like sunny disposition while he makes fun of his own existence constantly in a joking way. It works, And the other characters they give you are you can get a rogue early on who's 2-weapon fighting dagger rogue, which sounds great, except he's an eldritch scoundrel, meaning that he's basically also a wizard.
Oh, no.
And then they also give you the Scroll Savant Wizard, who's fine, but her specialization is illusion to start out with. I got rid of that right away and just was like, have some evocation.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Illusionist? Wizard? Against demons? What the fuck? Like, I'm hilarious because I took which was a terrible idea. Granted, I can sometimes just instantly kill an enemy, though they don't do coup de grace properly. I will tell you that. In actual Pathfinder, the DC is much more based on if you do a lot of damage. It goes up a lot higher. It's like half the damage you deal, or something like that. It's not quite that in this one. So certainly, there are times that I do like, oh, you did like 80 damage. It had to roll like a DC 25 check to survive that. I'm like, what? There's a lot of other things. Like
maybe they didn't read the rule properly.
They did not. They didn't.
It's not really Pathfinder either.
I'm like level 12, and I was complaining about like AC 48 monsters, basically. And the thing is, I went to other places, and I fought then like an AC 38 monster, and I'm like, hey, this is doable! You know why? My base character with 21 AC, I can cast a bunch of buffs on them, they can actually hit that! They can have like a 50-50 chance of hitting that. I have to roll a 20. And the 48 was like, there was like 10 of them in that area.
It really sounds like if you're playing this game, you need to min-max like your AC and AB, which is not a fun experience.
Nope. You have to do a lot more min-maxing, and you have to do things like, honestly, save and reload constantly. You have to basically save it, run into an encounter, reload, because you have to plan for that encounter then.
You know what happens in a regular tabletop game if you have an encounter that's so hard that it kills the entire party? The game ends.
Yeah.
Or you massively retcon it and depower the encounter because you don't want the game to just end because like, I did that encounter wrong, guys. Hang on.
I don't mind the idea of a reload option, because you can run into a situation like boss battles or mini-bosses that can be too difficult for you, or maybe you have to do a little bit more planning for. And that's fine because of the gamified aspect. I don't mind that I have to, like, plan out sometimes to buff in these certain battles, because honestly, there are ways in the normal game you can scout out information and figure out where things are sometimes. And, this can happen. I don't mind that. It's just that when I have to do it a lot, or go outside of an area, rest and go back in between every encounter, that felt bad. And that was this week.
You're not supposed to do that. You don't get a long rest between each encounter.
I had to go do it. It was the thing with the cybernetic demons. They were AC 20, one type of them had AC 48. The others had AC like 45 or 44.
That's so much.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I'm only level 12, mythic rank 3.
Yeah, what? Just get good. It was basically what felt.
But then I went.
Just cast fireball.
Then I went and went to anywhere else, and yes, there was difficult things, but they were actually fightable. That's the problem. Is that one area was just, and I did find out that area was apparently a Kickstarter backer area. That a Kickstarter backer kind of came up with the idea for it or something, and I'm like, it wasn't a great idea.
No.
Well, if they had complete freedom in creating it, they made it wrong.
Like, honestly, if they gave them some... how much information did you give? Because the idea of using, ancient Numerian, because they were technologically advanced technology, and having, cyborg... some person that found some technology and keeps converting people forcefully to cyborgs, that's not a bad story. And honestly, there were plenty of enemies in there that felt fightable. It's just as soon as they added the demonic ones with an AC, 10 higher than anything else in that area, that was terrible.
Yeah, that's when you start busting out the save spells, and you just nuke them.
But other than that, I have to report, the Crusade mechanic continues to just be the general fighting. It's, like, half-assed, I don't mind it. But again, like, it's the idea that you should just have one big army that's really powerful instead of having a lot of different units. It's not really tactical at all. I'm not sending out... I have multiple armies, but you know what I do with them? Nothing. I just keep them sitting around.
Combine all of them into one super giant thing.
Well, you can't.
It's the Stellaris tactic.
Well, the thing is, you have a maximum of 6 different types of units in one army. And they give me, like, 12 different types of units. Well, I can only combine 6 into one. In my main army, because I've leveled it up, normally it's only 3. What do I do with all these other units that, like, you don't give me any of anyway? When you have, like, 15 of them, they die. You know what wins a battle? 200 of something. Because you need
bring in the fleet of 28 battleships.
True.
With the hangar bays and large lasers that snipe ships instantly from across the map. So
those are effectively these Hell Knights I keep getting. They're really good like that. They're on mounted horseback and just murder shit. They're pretty good. And also,
it just reminds me of Stellaris tactics, where you just have the biggest thing.
What it is just a spam out. I have 2 different types of archery units. I spammed out both of them. One of them's really good at killing demons. The other one's just really good at killing anything. So I just spam those 2, murder the shit out of everything. And also, I finally learned Scorching Ray with my commander, so I can just use that to like nuke part of a unit. And just that weakens everything, and then just clean up with the rest of things, and then just use clerics to make sure I don't lose any units. Honestly, It works, but it's kind of sucky. And then
here's 2 tactics. One of them is the correct tactic, and one of them will work. The correct tactic isn't very fun, but
the correct tactic is Archers and Scorching Ray. That's what everybody agrees on. There's no. At most, you can replace Scorching Ray with your commander can just cure people to heal up your units and keep them from dying off. Because it's a numbers game, and yes, you have this hospital that recovers units you lose, but it maxes out. And if not, you lose units. And when you lose units, you lose both money and power. And so it's not worth it to ever lose units. Weirdly enough.
Yeah.
In an army thing. And then the last thing I have to say is, hey, the actual kingdom building thing, it's fine. They fixed it from Kingmaker. If they had something as simple as this in Kingmaker, I would have been a lot more happy. Or even a little bit more complex, but gives a lot more information like this one. Hey, it would have worked. They fixed that part of it. It's fine. Hey, get 1/3 of stuff right.
Hey.
Let's talk about Unfinity just for a minute. I just want to talk about it for a minute.
That's Magic the Gathering?
To summarize again, they have these joke sets, the unsets.
Oh, yes, unsets. I have heard of these.
Yes. They're normally gray bordered. They decided this one will be black bordered and legal in everything older, up from modern or older. Yep. And, that part there means that I can take something that's very silly here. If I could just quickly find something like stupidly silly.
A lot of these aren't balanced either.
No,
that's why they're not legal.
Aren't. Yeah. Guess what they are now?
Because I was talking with someone who's a kind of a big Magic Gathering nerd, and they were talking like, yeah, some of these things, the mechanics get like refined and put into like legal things, but usually they're not like an exact copy. Unless if it is an exact copy, it's because it wasn't like super broken. And so if I was just like, I'm just gonna release a whole bunch of homebrew, and I'm not gonna think about balancing or how it interacts with anything else, just make it legal, you're gonna find something that's messed up.
Hey, how about I just found something that's already really stupid, and I wouldn't want it in my gameplay, but I could have it in a modern deck now. A real handful. It's a black card. As long as 1 or more hands that are touching it, it gets +2/+2. 2 or more hands, it has menace. 3 or more hands, it has lifelinks. You have to have hands touching it to get the card something. What? Why would I? In a joke game, great. In a modern game.
Like physically touching it with your hands?
Oh, yeah.
Or
physically touching it.
That's weird.
It's dumb.
And it's in your modern deck or your legacy deck.
So if the card is in play and you just have your hand on it, now it's really strong because I'm touching the card on the field. That seems really bad.
It's just kind of stupid in a way, and honestly, I think that's the thing is, like, if you're playing it and you have this and everybody agrees to play it, it's fine. It's a little bit of silliness, you know? I'm not a big fan of this type of thing, but I can understand how someone can be a fan of this type of gameplay. I don't want it in my normal sets, and now it is. And I think that's why I'm just continually pissed off at this.
Wizard knows what they're doing, obviously. You don't know what you want, but they do. Cough, cough, EA, cough, cough, many years ago.
Yeah. So, yeah, we've got just, you know, more terrible stuff and stickers. Like, again, like the base idea of, like, actual stickers just putting, like, stuff on it, it's just they expanded it way too much. Anyway, I can complain about it all, like, for hours, probably, but I'm just going to say at this point in time, I don't know what's going to happen to Magic after this. This is going to be, like, just something...
Either they'll screw it up so bad that they'll have to actually, like, pull it back or something, or that's just how it's going to be. And I can't imagine it's going to be the latter. I feel like this is a PR nightmare, and eventually they're going to have to fix it.
The thing is, it might not be, because they oftentimes, they claim, but they ignore those older formats when they have their fan bases and stuff. Like, the formats they support most are Standard and Commander now. And that's a problem sometimes. Now, they do occasionally things for, like, oh, there's a Modern Masters set, which is supposed to help Modern, and kinda does, but not really. Because they never do proper reprints, because they're wizards, and they don't want to, like... They want to keep the secondary market expensive for reasons. They don't profit from the secondary market. I don't understand. They don't want to, like, you know...
A secondary market, though, might raise the primary market value, so making them allowed to charge more for their cards.
That might explain why they're charging more for their cards now in certain ways that are not great.
Yeah, because they'll look at, like, oh, you know, you guys pay, you know, $15 for this one card, and then people will be like, yeah, it's because you don't print anymore. It's like, well, you know, we'd rather print new things. That's our excuse. And then they charge $15 for this, like, set or whatever that has one decent card in it, and the rest are garbage, and you wouldn't want them anyway. But hey, you get one card out of it.
True.
Well, you know, it draws people to buy singles, which is, I don't know. Let's move on to something else angering, honestly.
More anger.
Okay, so I originally saw this on an article that I got linked. I forget where I got linked, but I was able to find it on GeekWire here. So I'm going to throw up their article for people to see, and there's also a tweet that I think I saw.
Yeah, I think I've seen the tweet.
I'm gonna preface this with a big old, it's really racist warning.
Yeah.
You know,
this is
discretion.
Horribly racist, horribly transphobic. Effectively, what happened is this new TSR, the TSR that's come back from the dead, originally under Ernie Gygax, one of the children of Gary Gygax. I will say one of the children, because apparently there's a battle between the children of Gary Gygax that, like, at least two of them might be less horrible. I'm like, I don't understand, because apparently, but there's more, like, apparently some stuff got leaked on their doing Star Frontiers, a new version of that, which was another game they had done.
Yeah.
It's, like, pretty bad.
There's a lot of stuff in it that is just, I think, like, the tweet, which is it the one from, there's this one I got from No Hating Gaming. Is that the one you had, Momo?
That's the one with the massive legal document, and then the one with the leak as well. And
examples of the very racist and et cetera, terrible stuff.
One of the...
So I'm actually just going to link the No Hating Gaming account. Yeah. So if people want to...
extensively.
If you want to look into the stuff they point out of these documents that were leaked. And again, this is a leaked document, but this is still a leaked document. Like, it is a document they had.
Here's a softball version of it. So, most people here are familiar with D&D or any type of tabletop thing where it's like, oh, you have like humans and elves or whatever. So imagine if you had a party of people and then someone's like, "Oh man, I want to play the elf," because I like elf culture or whatever. And then the DM's like, "All right, cool. Here's all these sweet bonuses you get, and like here's your minimum and maximum stats and all this stuff." And you're there like, "Oh man, this sounds awesome." And then someone's like, "Well, I'm just gonna play a regular human," and the person's like, "All right, well, this is all you get as a regular human," and you're like way under tier compared to the elf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna read it verbatim because it's horrific.
Mm-hmm.
But more or less, the humanoid classes, quote unquote, are some of them are real life ethnicities.
Yes.
The white person ethnicity has a higher starting bonus and maximum bonus than the black ethnicity. That's the system.
Yeah.
That's what they printed. Yeah.
And I'm going to preface this too. Like, you could say like, oh, it's a leak or it's just that person. There is a lawsuit being done by Wizards versus them because this information was confirmed to be leaked. That's the thing is, this is confirmed information because of a lawsuit we know is going on.
And also the way it was written is not cool. No. And it's not even like, well, let's say you take like subclasses, right? We'll go with elves for whatever, because elves are easy to subclass. You have like high elf, and then like wood elf, and then you like a dark elf or something. Mm-hmm. And they're all basically the same. The difference here is one of them is severely lesser in like every possible way. It's not like, oh, it gets this magic versus like getting more physicals or whatever. It's literally just the worst version, which is the worst part about it. It's just like, here's crap, and it's directed at a certain type of person in the real world, and it's like, oh,
yeah. Even further, because this is going to delve into just how awful TSR, this version of TSR has been. They have a apparent document of quote unquote haters, which one of them is Luke Gygax. I don't know anything about the Gygax thing, but apparently they all hate each other.
Yeah, apparently.
Or this one person hates them.
Apparently, like the company with something within the company hates it, and apparently, like Luke is amongst Luke, who's I'm assuming is like the brother of the other person that helps found this new like the Ernie who helped found this horrible thing, and apparently Ernie's a horrible person. We can say.
Yeah, I think Luke Gygax is the one who does the convention and stuff, like the Gygax convention.
So yeah, it sounds like maybe Luke is just a reasonable person, and I'm not going to say okay. I'm going to say this about this. As much as we can say stuff about Gary Gygax, maybe he made some terrible choices in the way he set up his game that are not good now. Certainly, as a person, he could have had beliefs that fit with that. We can't be sure because again, it was made during the 70s.
Yeah, it was a very different time.
It also changed over the years, too.
Yeah.
It evolved.
It got better.
It got better. They improved things up until TSR's death. When Wizards took it over and made it a lot more corporate, they have made some mistakes, certainly. The Doze thing that came up. But they try to be very corporate, and corporate is basically washed down
milquetoast.
It's milquetoast, yeah, I guess.
So, as per the actual lawsuits, there are three documents that are presented. If you've never read a legal document, they're long and boring. I've done it for you.
Yeah.
Three documents is the injection to the court, or the injunction to the court, basically being, here's our case. The one that sticks out to me is, this is Wizards suing over, hey, this is going to hurt our brand because we are the face of the D20 system, which is true, they are. The lawsuit also states that Wizards of the Coast still owns the name to this system, and new TSR is just trying to publish it anyways, which is actually illegal.
Now, new TSR does say they let the copyright go or something during the 2000s and stuff. So there is probably like, who owns the copyright, that part of it, that is for the courts to decide. Okay.
Yeah.
Who owns the copyright name? Maybe Wizards let it lax enough that TSR could use it. Maybe they didn't. We don't know. We don't know what TSR has been doing with that.
The thing is, even if they've let it lapse, Wizards has owned it long enough that its common law is theirs, which is stated in the document. It's very, very unlikely that new TSR will ever win this.
Okay.
And that's just not me being like, oh, it's a big company. No, they've actually, like, they don't have anything to defend.
Okay.
Wizards' case is like, it's an open shut deal.
Okay,
this is just a standard copyright case.
So it's a lot stronger than it sounds like. That. Okay, that's good to know. But God, it's like one of those things. Is like,
copyright laws, they're weird.
It's the thing that I think also, like, since TSR, most people that know about TSR, and understand it and understand D&D, know, like, it was eaten by Wizards basically when it went under. So when a company under TSR is publishing something like that, certainly I can see how that can be linked to Wizards. God, it's this
But, like, if they actually... Because I don't know if they did this or not. I think they just started using the name because it sounds like that's what their deal is. But if you actually bought the rights back to a company title, like, let's say Microsoft went out of business, and then someone's like, you know what? I want to buy the Microsoft brand name and then make a new company. If that other company didn't exist and you bought it, you can do that. I don't know if TSR has done this, because I think this has happened before.
Yeah,
where they just start using things.
New TSR, they've claimed that they use just TSR as their trademark in commerce. If they don't own that trademark, they can't use it. I'm pretty sure Wizard still owns the TSR trademark. It's just like, and to even further this, they do use it, but only 2 of their products have ever been marked with it. Some book called Tales and Tots, never heard of it, and some dice. That's the only 2 things branded TSR that they produce. That's not enough to really win your claim.
It feels like whoever's in charge doesn't understand legal precedents.
Yeah, it gets even worse. Their lawyer, or whoever Justice, I think that might be their lawyer, may have actually lied under oath.
Ooh.
By saying they own TSR. And that no one else, there's no other company that uses the name TSR. So, I'll be honest. This is my 100% firm opinion. TSR, new TSR, just take it out back and just shoot it. Just honestly, get rid of it.
It's just like, I'm looking at, like, the one link, the tweet under the No Hate Gaming, and some of the stuff they mentioned. I'm just like, I'm just like, what? What you know who uses this language? Stupid extremists. Like,
yes.
Conservative extremists who are just like, I'm like, I don't want to hear from that. I don't want to hear that kind of thing. as much as I'm just gonna try not to be political, but be political for a second. As much as I don't really talk about any of my political things, if anybody asks, I will say I am very neutral ground in the middle, which doesn't really exist anymore. We talked about that before show. I have certain things that I believe are conservative leaning, certain things that are more liberal leaning. I have my set of beliefs that don't fit within one party. Okay. I don't like hearing about extreme shit on either side. I've got to be honest.
Yeah, New TSR also has a a habit of basically just sharing alt-right propaganda. So yeah, they as a company they need to just die. They've been a problem for a while.
It really is a issue, and I gotta say, this just, puts it in this level of, what? I just don't know what to do with it, and I'm hoping that something positive comes from this, with Wizards doing this. Please, Wizards, use this to at least, even if you don't take them out back and shoot them, beat a leg off or something so they're crippled. I would like for them to be in a situation where they just die out back. It doesn't need to be a fast death. It could be a slow death, but just death.
They could potentially sue them out of business, basically, by making the court fees so high that they can no longer operate.
Yeah.
Please.
I mean, that is very, very possible.
Use the power of Hasbro for good.
This is genuinely the one time I think I'm ever on the side of a large corporation suing a small corporation, because there's actual legal grounds here for this to happen. This is a genuine, quite possibly an actual copyright violation.
Yeah.
And two, I've been in tabletop gaming for a long time. This is maybe some of the most offensive and horrific shit I've ever seen in the tabletop space.
It's pretty bad.
And I read the Fatal book.
I'm going to say this here. The kind of language and stuff here is stuff that I would have expected from early tabletops, ones that maybe made in the 70s or something.
Yeah.
And even then, it's
even 60s and 50s.
What I'm saying is it's even more extreme than that. It is 60s and 50s, but put in such a bad language, and also honestly, it's there's some points out the stuff is pretty terribly written anyway. Apparently, they don't make a very good game, also. So.
But yeah, it's bad.
It's bad.
It's very bad. Don't support New TSR.
It just don't, just don't.
Let's talk about a different company, one that mostly does good things.
Paizo does some good things, mostly. Yes, you're right. They're Paizo. So, the big thing that is this that's been announced is they're doing Kingmaker. Now, it is a rehash of the original Kingmaker adventure path. What they're doing is they took the original Kingmaker, upgraded to 2nd edition, and then took a little bit of influence to add some extra things that honestly, there are some good things that were in the Kingmaker video game. They took some influence, and hopefully, they just said they took some influence from it to add some things in. So maybe some side quests that people liked or something like that. Player's Guide is free, almost usually, but they put out the book here. It is
next month.
It is the entire adventure path for 2nd edition. They put out a bestiary that is the entire bestiary for the adventure, but the bestiary is separate because what it is everything put back to 1st edition. So all the new stuff, all the things together. So if you still want to do it in 1st edition and use this new updated book, they're like, hey, we know that some people still like the original Kingmaker adventure path. We did these updated books that were the entire adventure path as a whole for 1st edition. We didn't do one for Kingmaker. Here's a bestiary you can buy that will allow you to quickly just put it back into 1st edition.
So I clicked on the thing. Print edition, I'm assuming that means the physical book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's $100, which is wow. But it is a physical book. And here's the thing that says, works with tie-in bestiaries, sold separately, to allow easy conversion to Pathfinder 1st edition or the 5th edition rules of the world's oldest role-playing
there's
game.
also bestiary, so you can play this in 5th edition D&D.
I mean, I'm really mixed here. Like, I'm the outlier in this group here, because both of these other two are like, man, Pathfinder's the best ever, and I'm kind of like,
see.
They both have their problems.
They do both have problems.
They do really both have their problems. I think the reason I've been expounding more Pathfinder recently is because it has refreshed. Pathfinder has refreshed my actual be able to do longer term adventures. Without that, I don't think I could, because 5th edition long term adventures have killed my soul.
Yeah, you do deal with some real bad ones.
Now, granted, I still will say 5th edition's great for shorter term adventures. And if they balance out a 5th edition adventure for like 1 to 20th, I kind of want to see that.
If
it works,
they have the 3 to 21. I don't know how well it's written.
Well, apparently, like this adventure path actually allows you to go up to 20th level too, which I don't think the original did.
I think the original was like 18 or something.
Yeah, this one said 1 to 20.
They have a companion guide, so if you wanted to use like the NPCs or stuff from the adventure path, they have a lot of stuff for using those. They got kingdom management stuff, map making, all the stuff for it. The
kingdom management, I don't know how you're going to convert that to 5e, honestly, because the systems are very, very different. But I mean, hey, I'd be willing to look at that at least.
My opinion on this is it's cool, but it's not for me because I don't like the Kingmaker adventure path personally.
I will say
I would like to see other adventure paths a little bit more than Kingmaker.
I actually happen to agree with you. I think it's important to talk about this because it's a big thing, and Kingmaker is popular. But my want to do anything to do with Kingmaker burned away when I played the video game version.
The video game has made me never want to play the adventure path.
Honestly, I will continue to say, even with the terrible kingdom building stuff, I think, honestly, when I learned how to do it 3/4 through the game, it was fine then. But they don't teach you how to do it. Even with their tutorials, they didn't teach me how to do it, which was the problem. They gave me like 1/3 of the information I needed to know. I think that was the bad part of it. If I'd known from the beginning what I knew at the beginning, I probably would have had a better experience, and I reflect that. And I reflect that up until about halfway through the 5th chapter, I thought the story was fine. If they had an ending right there, I think I would have had an okay to slightly good experience with Pathfinder Kingmaker. I would have been annoyed a little bit about the kingmaking, but learning about it at the end would have been like, I could have had a much different experience if I'd done this from the beginning. Okay, I understand it now. I see my mistakes. Maybe like a replay would make me like it a lot better or something. And like, figuring out, what kind of threats there are.
That game kept going.
The unpurified Pathfinder that has its issues with wild swings in difficulty, honestly, it's annoying when you hit it. Like those CR48 I was talking about at the beginning. That's annoying.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's not everything. It's that one area. And technically I could have ignored that area. But I started it and I was like, it's one of those things. I'm stubborn a lot. I wanted to goddamn finish it, even though it was shit. As Sel said, you don't really get anything out of it. He told me that. You could have just ignored it. You could have just ignored it.
I'm going to have a slight side tangent about Kingmaker and about Wrath of the Righteous. And this has nothing to do with the content of the game. Anytime Sel has ever spoken of either of these games, it has really made me never want to play them. He is the worst person to recommend a CRPG that I've ever experienced.
Okay.
It's too much. It's like you gotta do all these macro things, and I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to do homework for a week.
If you just, do a little bit of slight reprogramming of the game, you'll have a good time.
Yeah, no, like it should be. If that's needed to have a good time, it should be in the damn game.
Something interesting, if we continue with the side tangent, in sort of RPG game-ish things that are on the computer, Dragon Age Origins, because I don't remember Dragon Age 2 a lot.
When you had NPCs,
when you had NPCs in that game, you had, you kind of had feats, but not really. They were like, pick from these categories to improve an ability. One of them was a tactics ability, and you didn't need it for your main character, but when you put it on your NPCs, it was really good on like wizards and stuff, because it was like, hey, if a party member is under a certain hit point level, cast a heal spell on them. That was built into the game. I believe Final Fantasy 12 had something like this.
I think so.
12, which I played through, which I will finish up once I spend the time to get to level 99 and do the shit I wanted to do. But that's side tangent on that for a second.
Yeah.
But it has a really good. The system is flawed, but I do like the Gambit system a lot in that it's like you can program your NPCs to do certain things. Yeah. And you can honestly let your main character do the same thing. Whoever you're controlling, you could control or not. And honestly, it's like, I'm kind of lazy. I just put it on fast forward and let them do their shit. And sometimes I'd have to intervene. Sometimes I didn't.
Yeah. It's like when you can have a toggle switch. If X condition is met, they will do Y. That's like real good. And I feel like from what I've heard of these Pathfinder games, they kind of need that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of... And this could be a side effect of Dragon Age being a console release as well. Yeah. And I don't know if the Pathfinder games did have a console release.
I think they got one later. I think it might be on Switch.
Here's another thing that I noted this week about this. Again, we're still side tangenting a bit because we are talking about Kingmaker in a way. It's adjacent. I thought of something this week that was a major problem that doesn't come up the same way in, let's say, Divinity Original Sin 2. Divinity Original Sin 2, if you have, like, a test of skill, it's normally have an ability, use it. There's like, not really a lot of huge ranks in something. Pathfinder Kingmaker and Pathfinder Wrath of Righteous has skills, just like a normal game, and skill checks. Their DCs and the importance of these DCs as you get experience for successfully doing any of these DCs, and experience as king, and oftentimes you get extra dialogue or money or treasure that you wouldn't get otherwise, means that your skills are now critically important. And skill focus becomes critically important in a lot of ways. Skill focus, which is dead weight when it comes to combat. It is dead weight. Granted, I was saying this week, on a normal Pathfinder character, I have built in sometimes to use skill focus for both combat and non-combat reasons, but there's good reason behind it, and it's adventure reason, or, again, combat skill reason, like some kind of ability that I have that relies on that. Or,
I have two examples of skill focus. One of them is when I was playing Nat in the pirate game. I took skill focus spellcraft, which is not, going to come up a lot in like combat and stuff, but it could, right? Something that would always come up in combat, especially if you build for it, and this is going to probably go into what you were talking about, is skill focus acrobatics to avoid attacks of opportunity, because then you just dance around the combat field and no one can touch you because you have like a plus 30 to your roll.
And you can reposition as needed to take advantage of the situation. And that's very helpful. Yeah. That you have control of where your character is. That comes up a lot. So skill focus acrobatics, honestly, if you are playing a character that's made to, like, use Vital Strike. You do one big attack, that's just meant to, like where you're like a rogue that does Vital Strike. You meant to like one big vital sneak attack around, and you're relying on your first attack to hit, and then you use that to position yourself every round. And I can see it. And the spellcraft, that was for crafting too. Doesn't spellcraft come up in crafting?
Yeah.
So
yeah, you need to roll spellcrafting for crafting. I think you can also roll spellcraft to identify spells.
Yep.
So, like, if someone's casting a spell in combat, you'd be like, oh, hey, that dude's casting invisibility or something. And it gives you situational awareness.
Yeah.
but it's more specific.
Yeah. I mean, even like Misty, who is like mostly just perception and sense motive. Those two skills have uses in like every situation.
Yep.
I think with sense motive, there's
sense motive would be really good if I skill focused it in Skulls and Shackle. If I didn't want to like step on anyone's toes, because I don't do the selling and stuff. As part of the bargaining in Pathfinder's rules, sense motive can be used to replace appraise.
Oh, I was thinking of there's a combat thing that I think maybe it was a brawler thing. Where you sense motive and you get like
brawler and
AC
ranger have combat mechanics that use sense motive.
Yeah.
Honestly,
so there's a couple things, but it's Pathfinder. There's a build for everything.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like in the game, I've taken skill focus with pretty much every character because like the skills they take, they need to be really good at it. My one person with religion, I'm like, I'm kind of terrible at this. Take skill focus. That +6 because we're 10th, like 11th level when I took them skill focus, made a big difference. Now they identify things. Now also I noticed that like when I'm walking around the board, there'll be little like religion checks, and when one of them is like DC 50, I'm like, what the fuck is that for? Why is that religion check being made? Why is that
50?
I'm like, why is that so high? What am I checking against? What the hell's going on?
Is there a dead god there you're trying to identify?
It like goes over like it does like 5 of them when I'm traveling, you know, like it were like 5 or 6 of them, and it goes from lower DCs to higher DCs, and like as soon as you fail one, it stops. I'm like, what the hell is it checking? I have to be honest.
It's like I don't know what the cap is in Pathfinder usually, because Pathfinder the skill checks can be pretty ridiculous. But like a DC 30 check in D&D 5e is basically the highest DC there ever is, because it's really kind of hard to get a reliable DC 30 roll, because you can get like +11s and stuff, but you still need to roll like 17s or 20s with a really well built character to hit DC 30. You have to be like at least level 12.
I don't know how it is as in terms of the scale in first edition, but I know in second edition Pathfinder, the highest recommended DC is 40.
40 is kind of like the top end DC that I recommend, but 50 is possible. A 20th level. When you're 20th level, honestly, you very easily could have a +30 to +40. Yeah. Like you could build a character that could easily have +40.
I mean, Cell in Skulls and Shackles has a 32 sailing already.
Yeah,
and
which is
we're level 10.
And so Cell could easily get to a 41. Even honestly, could probably get up to like a 45 very easily.
Oh, easily, yeah.
And that would be like 20th level, you know.
At level 20, you have a +23 if you put one rank in it every level.
And it's a trained skill, yep.
And if it's a major stat ability, you probably have like at least a 22 in the related abilities. So that's another +6.
Honestly,
skill focus is another +6.
Honestly,
so that's another +12.
Yep. And honestly, like at that level, if it's a primary thing, you're probably gonna have like a +6 item. You could level up to like honestly like a 28 would be reasonable.
Yeah.
So that's like a 9 there. So you're already in the 30s, just, with that. And honestly, some item that gives you +5 bonus, if it's a critical one, skill focus, if it's a critical one, you can get up to that difficulty. It happens. It's not rare.
You could have miscellaneous bonuses from like race that gives you like a +2 or a trait.
Spell buffs and everything.
40 is the more reasonable one, I'm going to say, honestly.
50 is a bit wild.
50 is for like, this is the crazy thing that, even as your epic character, you probably shouldn't do.
50 is like, man, you're figuring out the fucking secrets of the universe, dude.
You look up at the DM and you ask for something.
You look up at the DM and say, give me the adventure path, I need to read it.
Yeah. And so you roll it and they're like, fine, here you go. Ooh. Well, Kabowski, I will say my favorite, Jesus. For nostalgia, I gotta honestly go for 3.5. It's the one I did for D&D. For Pathfinder, first edition, just because I have done it more than second edition.
I played a lot of video gamified 3rd edition, so that's kind of where my brain set is usually at. But it's hard. I like 5th edition a lot.
I am a big proponent of 5th edition.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be honest. We'll go ahead for a second there.
And I, in many ways, having read both the Game Master Guide and the core rulebook, I prefer at this point Pathfinder 2e because it's a little bit newer.
Yeah. Like, I will be honest, like, again, I've gone back to 1st edition Pathfinder mainly because I'm running some adventure paths based on it.
Yeah.
Like, if I had an adventure, if I was running from scratch, or I had an adventure for it, I'd do 2nd edition first.
Oh yeah, no, 2nd edition is so much. It's so much easier to get new players for it.
I would not go back to 3.5. I love that system.
3.5 is a little dated now.
I would not touch it with a 10-foot pole at this point.
It's rough.
Let's all just go back to the true edition of D&D 4th edition.
I will one day run a 4th edition, at least an adventure, just because I feel like I need to roll it on Roll20. Because it would work then. And I think that's why I want to roll it.
To be played.
I want to run it on the thing it was designed to be played on. And just
the virtual tabletop.
Yeah.
The thing about 3.5 is if you really want to play 3.5 is just take the lore from 3.5 and run 1st edition Pathfinder with limited books.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because Pathfinder is
the same thing.
Yeah, Pathfinder is a slightly better version of 3.5.
It is.
Making characters is a little bit easier. There's no cross-class nonsense. It's a lot more straightforward.
They pick skills and stuff.
Yeah.
I did want to add into this Pathfinder discussion, though. They have their September releases, so I'll just throw this out here. We'll quickly go over it.
September releases?
I know. Just like
Alien Archive. September is almost over.
I know. Alien Archive, Pocket Edition, the special edition of the Lost Omens Gods of Magic.
Book 3.
Book 3 of their current adventure path for Pathfinder. The Bloodlords. They're the one where you take on the. I guess you're more neutral evil because you rule over like an undead.
Are neutral evil, yeah. I believe that you're supposed to be neutral evil, which is the best kind of evil.
I mean, that's
selfish evil.
Fun.
Well, it's the one where you don't like. It's just you're evil for the sake of evil, which is like I feel like. If you're going to be an evil campaign, it's either got to be that.
Chaotic evil is evil for the sake of evil. Neutral evil is like, I only care about numero uno.
I feel like, neutral evil is that, you're kind of cruel, wicked, but you just do your thing, I think you can run that in lawful evil, and so those are like the two you can run. Chaotic evil is very difficult.
You really shouldn't run chaotic evil.
Yeah, chaotic evil is just, you just want to see the world burn.
Honestly, you could maybe run it, but the thing is, what you'd have to do is you'd have to work individually with each player to develop a character that would fit chaotic evil, but also you'd all have reasons to work together. Like, maybe you're like a group of people that grew up together, so you're all friends, so you like each other, but no one else, that kind of thing.
Like I could easily throw together a chaotic evil one-shot. Would it be fun? I don't know, maybe.
Depends.
It'd be chaos.
It'd be pure chaos, because it'd be like, oh, hey, you're like abyss demons, killing dudes.
I mean, it could work, but,
fun.
It's one of the reasons I do want to at least look through their Bloodlords, just to see how they run it, because, again, neutral evil is one that, we don't get a lot of campaigns based on it, so,
I'm just thinking of a chaotic evil person just randomly blowing up a spaceship for no reason. That's chaotic evil, where you just do things because you can.
That's chaotic evil against the DM who put in hours of work.
Uh-huh.
So, I got a Kickstarter for something that is
Kickstarter.
It's against the Faerie Queen. It's a Celtic campaign.
What?
It's a Celtic campaign for 5e and Legends of Avalon. So Legends of Avalon is one of the Modifius systems, if you didn't know. So they're doing a version of it for 5e and a version of it for a 2d20 system. So
I mean, cool. I'm all for more 5e content because for a long time it had nothing, and now it has everything.
No,
It's just really weird.
It's like really cool because why would Wizards need to make do stuff when other people just do it for them?
I guess they just waited long enough until everybody was like, well,
everyone was like, fine, I'll do it myself.
That's effectively what they did. They waited long enough.
It really kind of feels like it.
And everybody was just like,
and then they threw us one single thing. Here's Artificer. We're not going to update it ever again. Have fun.
There is so many third-party conversions or addendums to 5th edition now. It's kind of like, I think I have like 3 books of 5e adjacent things. The Star Wars 5e is really good. It's a little bulky, but that's because they're kind of going for a more Pathfinder kind of feel with it.
Yeah, they're porting from
with
3.5.
Yeah, I have the old 3.5 Star Wars, and let me tell you, a friend started running that game using the 3.5 rules, and it was hell. After having played Carrion Crown with Pathfinder, it was like, I remember how shitty the 3.5 rules were, and I hate this. Can we use Pathfinder sheets? I will happily convert them. So we actually ended up using a Pathfinder game, and I just added and converted things to make it like work, because it's like it was jank. But you had so much better character sheets that it was worth it.
Again, it's the fact that 3.5, as much as I love that system, I don't want to go back to it ever again because I know Pathfinder just fixed so many issues.
We have better things now.
It's like
we have nostalgia.
I liked 3rd edition too, but I really don't want to go back to 3rd edition because it had even more problems than 3.5. When they gave me 3.5, I'm like, they fixed all these issues. And then Pathfinder came out, I'm like, oh, fuck, these were also issues. I didn't realize. Thank you for fixing these.
You didn't realize how bad they were until someone came out and said, you know what? Forget all this. It's just this now. And it's like, that makes so much easier.
So, they have a whole bunch of stuff. It's a cool Celtic thing, and I'm finding it very interesting that they're doing it. Honestly, I've...
Is this one of those mega funded things?
No.
Not mega funded, but
it's funded.
Yeah, it's like maybe it's getting close to 200% with 16 days to go, so...
I mean, it's got subclasses. I'll take it.
Yep.
Oh, hell yes.
Let's see here. And I guess the...
More creatures.
24 is the PDF they have it for. And you also get
PDF.
But you also get deck of cards and other PDFs on add-ons later in backer kit. Also, you get other PDFs too. So you get the main book and some other PDFs too. So it's 24, but it includes the main book and all the other PDFs that they're doing as part of this entire thing. They do say there. Okay.
That to me, that's a reasonable price.
Honestly, as I've said, 24, 25, that's kind of the top end I like for a PDF. That makes me feel comfortable, but it's
I agree.
Honestly,
it's a lot better than a $100 book.
If you give me a giant book for $30 a PDF, a $100 book, I have to say that thing's got to be huge.
That thing is going to be massive. It is a 1 to 20 Pathfinder.
Yeah.
It's gonna be huge.
It's also not just a 1 to 20. It's also a kingdom building game.
Yeah,
at the same time.
it is a massive book.
It's going to be the kind of book that you're like, you pick it up and you're like, I could just swing it once and kill someone with this.
Yeah.
There are books you pick up that you're just like, this is a weapon. This is so big and so heavy. Why do I have this weapon in my house?
Right, so my next Pathfinder character is improvised weapon. I throw books at people.
You throw rule books at people.
I just throw rule books at people.
I would support it. So, cool. If you want to check it out, it's more
gonna hit this button so I don't have to scroll up.
I think the what is it? The other one? Sorry, I'm forgetting it. The Legends of Avalon is very kind of Celtic anyway, kind of campaign. So it makes sense they did a version of it for that. So cool. And more stuff, more expansion of 5e by people because Wizards won't do it.
Yeah, Wizards is done with 5e. They're doing this.
They've got a new system called 1D&D.
I mean, honestly, if they, the only thing I like about 1D&D, for a small tangent, is it sounds like they're just making feats a regular thing and they're gonna have tiers, and that'd be the only thing I take from that system, because I have either made other things work better on my own, or I don't like the changes they're doing, so I just won't play it.
I have not seen enough to have an actual opinion.
Yeah, and they've barely released anything.
Because I already do those changes.
Yeah, most of the things that they're talking about, we already do.
Yeah.
So it's just like, welcome to the current era.
Welcome to what I've been doing for 2 years.
Yeah, we've been doing this for 2 years now.
So, a game that I can't remember where I got it from. Did I just get it? Did I get it as like a review? I might have gotten this review copy years ago. I can't remember for sure because it's been years. Godsforge is getting a Kickstarter for 2 expansions. Honestly, I liked this game back in the day when I got a hold of it. It was fun. It's a what style game is it?
A deck builder?
Kind of like a deck buildery, battle-y kind of game, where you play like creatures and spells. It's been such a long time since I actually played it.
Dragon theme.
Yeah, Return of the Dragon Gods and Twilight of the Great Houses are their 2 ones. You know, and both of them add the ability to add 1 more player to your game too, which is neat. You know, more players. I wanted to shout it out because it was a game I honestly talked about back on the channel years ago, and you know, I'm thinking about it. I think I got a review copy of it from Atlas Games back in the day, you know, and so I'm like, I should probably shout it out again. You know, it was cool. I reviewed it well, and you know, here we go. The Kickstarter should be coming out soon. But they've announced it, and Atlas Games does good stuff. We've talked about how they've got their plastic recycling program that they're working on and stuff like that to minimize waste in the tabletop industry. So
probably a good idea.
Yeah. We've talked about Star Wars before, so why don't we talk about some more ones?
Oh, we did talk about Star Wars.
Yeah. There's a Clone Wars board game by Z-Man Games and Asmodee. You know, it's like Planetary Siege one, so it's actually like you're fighting the Clone Wars kind of thing. Is it supposed to be 2 players or 1 player? Let me just see here. I forgot to check that. 1 to 5 players.
Interesting.
Yeah. Planets Under Siege populate the game board as players take the role of Legendary Jedi. Okay, so you're all a bunch of Legendary Jedi, and you're like basically leading battles for planets to try to get rid of the, I guess, Separatists. So,
oh man, so I'm just gonna read off these quote unquote Legendary Jedi. Now I know all but 2 of them. All right. So you have Anakin Skywalker, Ahsoka Tano, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Mace Windu, Yoda, Elia Secura, and Luminaria Oldura.
The Luminaria, I only know about that one because I've watched Star Wars Rebels a couple of times, and that's like a character that's
I've
used
only seen like
on.
season 1 of Rebels, and then I started watching season 2, and I'm like, it's bad now. I don't want to watch this anymore.
Well, in the later season's fine. You know, it kind of like has its ups and downs too much.
Yeah, it really felt like it was doing the whole CW thing in season 2, which I am so sick and fucking tired of. So I'm like, I don't want to watch this anymore. I don't care.
I have more tolerance for that shit, so I was able to put up with it.
I have
you have zero tolerance.
Little tolerance. I still have some tolerance, right? But on a scale of like 1 to 10, I have like a 1 or a 2 for the bullshit that CW does. And it's just kind of like, because I watched almost every single season of Arrow, and I was just, you know what, I'm done. And then they made Flash, and like season 1 Flash was great, and then season 2 was like okay, and then towards the end or in season 3 or whatever, they just went full CW on it, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm done with anything CW produces. Just done forever.
Yep.
I haven't, I've felt better. Stop watching dumb television. Stop getting horrible mental anguish.
I haven't watched television now in probably a year, like actually sat down and watched it, because honestly, I was banished from my living room, and I would have to go watch it either when people were there and everybody's watching something, or I would have to watch something on the DVR, in which to do that, I have to go down at like midnight or 1 a.m. to watch something for a while, and I'd rather just be up here watching something like working on something, and have like a Twitch stream on the background, or just watch something on YouTube, honestly. Because it'll probably be better content.
but that's slightly off.
But anyway, that's not good. So yeah, I don't recognize the second to last one, but the Luminaria I do recognize just from they used her corpse in it. I remember that's the most I know. You know?
And if you scroll up, it's Darth Maul. I forget what Dooku's Sith name was.
Tyrant.
Oh, okay. And then there's Dooku, you have Obi-Wan, you have Anakin, you have Ahsoka, and you have Yoda. That's the picture. And then there's they just list off some other people. I don't know the last two.
Yeah.
They're not legendary.
Hold on,
if I don't know who they are.
Where are these last two idiots?
Well, they got some other villains. You know, they got Maul and lightsaber.
Well, I can tell you exactly who two of these people are. This Ayla. She's the Twi'lek lady who just gets shot.
Okay.
And this other one is someone who gets killed by Palp.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the only two times they show up.
And they mentioned four iconic villains: Darth Maul, General Grievous. Grievous is and Count Dooku. I don't know this Sanji Ventress. I don't know.
Ventress is
she was a villain.
She's a Clone
Wars.
Wars. She's from the cartoon.
Yeah. She was a pretty good villain.
Okay.
So she had a really good character arc.
If you want this, you need to be a fan of the actual TV series, because one of them is just, here's a stormtrooper and it says Cody. I know who that is.
Yeah, if you've only seen the movies, this dude is mentioned one time. It's when he shoots Obi-Wan.
Yeah. If you were a fan of the TV series, this is probably pretty fun.
Yeah, this is specifically for the cartoon.
And it's using the pandemic system. Honestly, I can see
this being pretty fun. Because Pandemic is a fun game.
So it's basically you kind of flip over things of
Star Wars Pandemic.
Well, that's what it is. They're attacking these planets.
It is literally Star Wars Pandemic.
Yeah. And
which is kind of funny.
I didn't realize
it works.
That's the thing is I was reading that it uses the pandemic system here. I'm like, oh my god, that it actually works for what they're putting out here, where you're a group of Jedi trying to keep the Separatists from taking over these planets. What the hell? It works.
That weirdly works, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, they've tried to put this pandemic system on more than one thing. They finally found something that I can say, hey, it works for. They have it like that. It was
the Warcraft one.
There was also what is it, Netherlands, where you have to keep the locks from flooding places. That was oh my god,
that's a real one.
That's a real one. They try weird ways, but they actually got one. Let's talk about another game that Modiphius is behind. This one directly rather than partially behind. But yeah, that's the thing is, I like Pandemic. Honestly. This almost sells me on this, It's oh crap, this
kind of a unique way to use the system.
Yeah. And as much as I've been neutral about a lot of Star Wars, that's actually seems like a.
There's two good Star Wars board games.
Honestly, this could be one of them.
This could be the third, yeah.
This could be the third. Ironsworn Starforged. It's a sci-fi evolution. Okay, what is this? So this is this was a Kickstarter original or digital download, and they're kind of actually bringing this to publication. It's what Modiphius does. They oftentimes will be nice and be like, hey, you who did Kickstarter, do you want to actually publish this other than just throwing it out there how you did before on PDFs? Great, we'll help you out here.
It was an acclaimed tabletop RPG that was fully funded.
Yeah.
And it's kind of I don't know what this is, but I'm also not the person these people usually are advertising to.
Yeah, they got
here's an interior map of a spaceship. I like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to
I can't zoom in on it, but it's there.
Where would they have this under? Sci-fi.
It might be under the VIA section, because that's where their published stuff is usually.
The VID. No, thank you. I have to remember where they have they have so many tabs here.
Yeah, it's either gonna be under the sci-fi one or that, because they kind of just.
I would like to click on books to see what you say about these books directly, rather than just some information about this here. Anyway, there's 3 play modes, apparently. For this RPG, which is kind of interesting. There's the standard, what would be guided was 1 or more players take the role of their characters, while a guide moderates their session.
You will explore uncharted space, unravel the secrets of a mysterious galaxy, and build bonds with those you meet in your travels. Most importantly, you will swear iron vows and see them fulfilled no matter the cost.
Okay, so this system apparently has rules for no DM needed.
Yep. Starforge is the standalone sci-fi evolution of the Ironsworn tabletop role-playing game. Experience with Ironsworn is not required to play. Starforge builds on Ironworld's award-winning innovations, including its famed solo play.
Yeah,
so you can solo play.
Yeah, they've got co-op rules for you and a bunch of friends go against the system together with a no DM, or you just play it on your own to try, like, to have like an adventure. That's the thing is, solo RPG adventures, I feel like that's like, you're in a place where you can't mess around with electronics, where you don't have like internet signal or something, and you just have some time to do something. So I can see a time and a place for it. It doesn't come up very often.
I know someone who really likes D&D, but they are kind of shy and they don't really want to like reach out and like play it with other people. So there are people like that. So having a system like, if there was a like, let's just use 5th edition for an example, just because it's easy. If there was an extra rule book or whatever that was like, here's how to play D&D 5e solo, because there's another game that has rules for solo and multiplayer, and it's the really like grim, dark Apocalypse World kind of thing, which Apocalypse World, I believe, is its own system.
Yeah.
The thing I'm thinking of is different. I bring it up all the time. Momo remembers what it is when I explain, because you remember things better than I do.
That is true.
I don't know what it's called, but in that game, the monster turn is basically, it's a deck of cards, and you just pick from it, and that's what the monster does. So every other turn or whatever, or every round, someone draws from the monster card deck and then like picks one of its 2 actions. So there's precedent for these solo types games.
Okay. Cool.
And I think it's cool that they do this, because especially think about if you wanted to try a system out, but you didn't really have enough players.
Oh yeah.
And it had a solo option, and so you play it solo, and you're like, wow, this is really good. It helps you understand the game, and then you can more explain it like better when you get other people involved. So you can be like, hey, I've played this. It has a solo version, and then the rules are a little bit different if you're playing with other people, but you can kind of work into it. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I don't have any experience with many solo play things, because like it's sort of one of those things is like, usually I'm busy with something to sit down and do it. And I think that idea of like maybe testing it out on your own wouldn't be bad. Like spend some time to do that. That's a good excuse for it, especially if you want to run it then later on. Certainly. Yeah. But I like the idea of solo play stuff. It's just like, I know that it's
not for you.
It's not for me, and it's a lot more, it's like, there's situations for it, and it's good to have. And especially I like it that, like, certainly sometimes there's an RPG that's just solo play, which is good, that's fine. But I like the idea that it's got the options. You can do solo, no DM, or have a DM, honestly, and have those 3 different types of situations.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw this other Kickstarter up if one of you wants to read it, because I got to run to the bathroom very quickly.
Oh, no.
My intro to this here is that it is basically Legend of Zelda inspired. They've got like 8-bit pixel art, and the books look like Nintendo cartridges to a degree.
Wow, that's...
Yeah, there's that's an NES cartridge, yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I see the picture. I like there's a gold one, because I believe the Zelda one, the special edition, had the gold cartridge.
That is true. And that cartridge is worth a lot of money.
I'm reading, sorry. I can't read out loud and read in my head at the same time.
How are you doing, chat? Tathis isn't here to judge you. How are you doing?
There is a quick start bundle, which includes the game rules, tools, and a prepared dungeon. So you can just test it out, apparently.
Hell yeah.
Before you try and back them. They are super funded, apparently. So, and it's still 12 days to go. I'm assuming it's just like a dungeon crawl game.
It looks dungeon crawly, because it's a very simple system. It doesn't look like it has too many stats. You've got health, energy. That's kind of it.
Yeah. In the game, key works basically on every lock, but disappears when used. So very much Legend of Zelda.
You're doing a Zelda dungeon. You roll
characters
D4s
heal through eating. And for some reason, random pots contain money. Oh, this is just a fan letter to like classic Zelda, but like in RPG or tabletop format.
Sometimes a pot has money, or you're in a different game and you hit a brick wall and a fully cooked turkey comes out and heals you.
Yeah. Yeah. Just 3 attributes: might, bravery, and insight. Gee, that sounds like strength, courage, and wisdom. But there's even a Triforce on the character sheet.
It is a triangle.
Yeah. It looks like it's a D4 system.
D4 system.
So 1 and 2 is fail, 3 is success at a cost, and 4 is successful. I guess you can roll additional D4s if you, I don't know, do something.
Circumstance, maybe.
Yeah, maybe like certain skills, or maybe it's exploding dice. So
that might be exploding, yeah.
But if it was exploding die, I would think the DCs would be higher.
Yeah. Yes, this is just Zelda.
It basically is like a D4 Zelda. Oh, okay. So what it is you roll as many D4s as you have in that attribute. So it is a dice pool. So if you have 2 in bravery or whatever, you would roll a 2d4. Which is why 1 and 2 is a failed action, and 3 is a success at a cost. So you still like lose a life point. So I get it now. That makes sense. I read the things after the explanation. That's how good I am. Oops. Stop scrolling on the backer part.
Some dungeons. You've got the wood forest temple. You've got the water temple. You got the fire temple. You got the final boss.
So, is it like very?
Literally, it is Zelda the tabletop.
It's classic Zelda.
It's classic Zelda the tabletop.
Okay.
I was trying to see if they have like a random dungeon thing. And it kind of looks like it. Here's random tables for themes and architectures, challenges, monsters, bosses. So it looks like you can kind of random up a dungeon.
Yeah. So it's like they provide you with some, and that they also are like, if you.
Yeah, there is a fully built adventure right in the book. There's a play test that you can just go and play that has 1 dungeon. And then it sounds like with the book, you can get more possibly random generation stuff.
Okay, cool.
It has DM screen if you back high enough.
How is the I guess the 8-book this stuff looks pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's very very old school NES.
Yeah.
It's a D4 system, D4 pool system. Yep. So based on your stat, there's 3 stats. You would roll an equivalent of D4s equal to your stat.
Okay. For $1, you could get the PDF if you really wanted to.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
$1 is PDF.
The book, PDF, and digital stretch goals are $27. $1 US.
You had to do a conversion, didn't you?
Yeah, because it's in. I believe that is Swedish money.
Yeah,
okay,
but it says
I don't know what that is.
It gives me for on my Kickstarter, it's like about something. So it's like about $1, about $27.
I'm not logged in. I can't switch.
Yeah, I'm not logged in either. I don't think I even have a Kickstarter account.
I think I do because I'm like, I'll back this, and then I don't.
I'm not logged in right now, but it gives me that at least.
I like how it says, because this is in the SEK money, it's like 10 or more, and then 299 or more. I'm like, that's a big difference.
Yeah,
they don't know.
It's just how they do their denomination. Something like the yen is.
The yen isn't even that anymore. It used to be 1 to 100, and it's not anymore.
No, it's not anymore.
It's dropped a lot.
But it's that same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, hopefully it will fluctuate back towards that, because that's the easy way to remember it, goddammit. But it's got 10 days to go, and that seems good. And honestly, like, it's not a bad price to back it. It's the kind of thing, it's like, oh, god damn it.
$1 whole dollar.
It really looks like one of those things that you can kind of just throw together in an afternoon.
Yeah.
So a really simple little fun dungeon crawling game.
Yeah, and honestly,
with nice pixel art.
Yeah, it was neat. So if you want to go check that out, definitely on the list of interesting things to check out. And we have one final topic today. It's Yahtzee, honestly. Do we have to?
But what kind of Yahtzee?
We do, because Yahtzee? One of these two makes us have to talk about it. We'll talk about the first one, which is like, fine, whatever. It's the season for it, and the sequel is coming out. Hocus Pocus Yahtzee. Fine.
I was going to say Halloween Yahtzee with Jason.
It's well, I mean, you know.
Well, that's the wrong killer, but...
Wrong killer.
So it's the wrong movie.
I mean, their second one is coming out, apparently. I saw, like, an advertisement for it.
I didn't know that there was a second one.
It's going to be on Disney+.
It wants me to sign up for my first order. How about no?
Yeah, sign up for their
And the other one is D&D Yahtzee.
Oh, no!
All right.
There might be owlbears on the dice.
There are owlbears on them, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're the two.
Oh,
There's
good.
a beholder, a mimic, and that's all I can really see.
I can see a Mind Flare on one side. That's a 5. Beholder 6, Mind Flare's 5, Mimics 4.
Oh, man. In related things, there's Monopoly Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, that is the
and
thing.
Clue Dungeons and Dragons.
Gelatinous Cube is 3. I don't know what 1 is.
One is... Let's see.
Oh.
A dragon. It's got to be a dragon, because they mentioned dragon.
That looks like a dragon, yeah.
It says Beholder, Mind Flayer, Dragon, Owlbear, Mimic, and Gelatinous Cube.
Ah.
I mean, it comes to the dice tower if you want a dice tower.
It is a dice tower if you want a dice tower. That is like a very D&D brand dice tower.
It actually is just a dice tower.
Honestly.
We can make dice towers with our laser engraver. You know, they're pretty nice. We can make them with actual, like, hardwood.
Yeah, it's a $30 dice tower.
God, it's a $30 dice tower. I mean, it's got to be a really nice dice tower for the $30 dice tower.
I think our dice towers, when we were selling them, were anywhere from between $12 and $30, but they were more made of wood.
At least it's Yahtzee and not Monopoly, but still.
They already have Monopoly.
Yeah,
I know they already have Monopoly.
Monopoly's already a thing.
And
they already
Clue.
have Monopoly and Clue.
Yeah.
I'm gonna click on this D&D Clue because I'm curious.
It's
what is this?
Who did Strahd murder?
No, it's what it is. I remember this one because I own it. Unfortunately,
okay.
Who's the doppelganger that's replaced someone and murdered someone? You know, and where did they do it?
Who's been replaced by an evil devil in disguise?
Oh, it's
what weapon
I've
was
got the
used in the
doppelganger
execution, and where in the Forgotten Realms says the internal puzzle box could be hidden?
God, they've got more than one D&D clue. Well, fuck me. They got a devil one now.
There's some kind of pot, a weird dagger, some kind of evil sword, a boot or claw, a bow, and I don't know what the last one is.
I think it's a torch.
Honestly.
I had the doppelganger one.
It looks like a torch.
Man, there's more than one D&D
they
clue.
Have Bob's Burgers clue?
Yeah.
God damn it.
And there's a Critical Role clue. I'm done.
That one
I'm
I did.
USAopoly!
That one I did know about. I guess two of the characters are detectives or something.
Oh, I have closed the website. We are done looking at USAopoly.
USAopoly!
I don't know why Tam keeps making us talk about it.
I don't know. Just make us suffer.
It's honestly, that might be what it is for the memes at this point in time. It's for the suffering. USAopoly is suffering. Well, it's nice when I talk about something they do good.
Look, in return for this transgression, next time I run a game, I'm gonna have you fight a CR40 or an AC46 cyber demon.
Sounds about right. But it's 5e. It's like...
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah. Your attack misses. Your attack misses. Your attack misses. It also has advantage on every other attack against it.
It also has to spell Explode Goblin, so...
I'm not
so if there's any goblins in your party, they just instantly die.
Shit, I had a party
DC 40
I was
explosion save.
I was in a team with all other goblins. Damn it, I'm gonna be alone fighting this thing.
It just explodes one of your party members each turn.
Damn it.
And then you can't hit it because you're playing a fighter, so you have no DC attacks at all. It's just like...
perfect.
God. Want to talk about our week in gaming?
Don't we want to do a deeper discussion? Or
let's fight. I forgot our deeper discussion. My mind has been like just.
You looked at USAopoly too long, and USAopoly looked back.
It's you look in the horror of USAopoly, and it devours your soul. Anyway, our deeper topic is one that is coming up because of a game I am going to 99% finish this upcoming Thursday. And
I gotta say something here. I'm pretty sure you said, they'll spend like 20 minutes on the moon. And then 2 hours passed before they left the moon.
Honestly, as I was... I could have done it quicker, I think. But I was just I went along with it. I was like, whatever.
Now, when I was watching it, to me it kind of felt like you only could think of 20 minutes because you didn't really have everything planned out the week before or whatever from what we talked about.
Yeah.
And then when I was watching, it sounds like you figured out a way to add more content to what they were doing to potentially move the plot forward in a different way than there's nothing on the moon, you leave, and then you have them find relevant information. It feels like, to me as a viewer, you combined those two. I mean, I'm not a traditional viewer.
It is kind of what I did. So the idea was that I had very simple plans originally, but as I was kind of doing it, I'm I kind of was feeling like I wanted to speed up the entire thing to make it that I can basically do one session. And so that's kind of where I'm at now. I can do one session to finish up.
It does kind of retcon the idea that there's nothing there, because they went there and they found something.
I mean, I made it more into just a place that's just dead, and there's there really wasn't a lot there. I made the little teleportation thing because I was that was punishing them, because I was just fucking just go there all as a group. Why are you having a scouting mission?
Yeah, I mean, it was a little sucky for me, cause it's the one time I had to do anything in that
game. Was it?
I'm not gonna lie. There was a lot of temptation for me, and this is to just leave them there.
I understand.
Have them figure it out.
Be with your hot elf wife.
Yeah, I've got a wife I can go be with.
And another kid on the way or something.
Yeah, the 11th half elf.
Yep. Look, if we want to talk about that session ahead of
No.
Okay.
No, we can.
Okay. So
we'll talk about point about cutting the game short.
Yeah, we'll talk about that, in a minute. But
I mean, I've cut games short.
It's one of those things. I think it's because I thought there was a topic that I should talk about, honestly, next week, because it's a topic that has similarities to this, but is different still. There are games that die, which I do want to talk about, and it's a different kind of thing entirely, different beast. But cutting a game short is a different thing because it's a game that you have all the reason in the world still to play. You're just cutting it short for a variety of reasons. And
well, I have a perfect example of cutting the game short. You were in it. Both of you were in it.
Yeah.
Unless you want to make one more point before I take it.
Go ahead. You can give an example here.
Okay, so I started planning for a game. I have my own homebrew world. I've been working on it for 3, 4, 5 years or something ridiculous. If you really want to go super far back, when I first started making things and then making more things and eventually just putting them all into a world. That's kind of what happened. I made a couple little things and then it's I'll just make a whole world and put them in.
Yeah, and then eventually
big mistake.
Eventually I was told, hey, you deal with this, but
yeah. So I ran a very, very small, short game that was playing on the monster side. They were all working for these people that are creatures. There was a pixie, there was a bugbear and stuff, and it was kind of fun. It was a really kind of whatever game, and honestly, that game was so long ago. I might be able to look up when the game was created through Roll20 if it still exists. But I remember I ended up ending that game. But I don't remember exactly why. I think it was partly the players didn't have any more free time for it.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of sucked at the end of the game. But at the same time, it was one of the first games I started DMing again, and I think it was the first game that I DM'd like on a voice call, because I've done DMing before, like through text and stuff, which is more difficult than it seems, but actually not really. It's just a lot of time. So I wanted to come back, and I had done a lot more work on the world since then, but mostly on the other side, where like humans and elves and dwarfs and all that are. So it's like, well, I made this race of Kitsune, and I want to base an adventure there. And the original idea I had in mind was kind of West March, sort of, but not really, in that I made a bunch of different locations. I had a whole hex map, and each hex had something in it. Usually it was just like, there's like deer or boar or something in here, some things that are really simple, or basically there's nothing. But some of them had like, here's a cave system, here's a weird tree, here's a natural hot springs, and I had all these areas planned out, because that was how I was like, this will be really cool for playing and exploring. And then I had the hardest time getting the players, that's you too, both of you, to go and do that thing. I had an adventuring guild hall where everyone kind of signed up to basically do exploring. That was the premise. That's how it was set up. And I kind of had to force certain things to happen, and eventually got to the point where it's like, it sounds like I just need to write a villain. And so I took some threads that were kind of part of the world and crafted it into like a more traditional, like, here's a villain, blah, blah, blah. It was actually 2 separate villains in that game. And because one of the players was like really difficult to, like, the worst one to get to do anything. Like, everything was an argument, and like it was just like they were very like one goal focus orientated, which was not what the game was originally pitched for. It was like, hey, there's things that are going on. There's not a huge rush to go do them, because they're gonna exist for a long time. I might just change the encounter because you're a higher level when you go there. I never had timers, because I personally don't like timers. So I had to kind of force this narrative to happen, and because I had to do that, it was getting to be a lot less fun, and it got kind of worse over time. And so it's like, I'm just gonna push for an ending. I think I said like 2 or 3 games. But basically I sidelined one of the villains completely, because you had one encounter with them and then they just kind of left. And I was just like, yeah, just destroyed most of their forces. They're done with, basically. And then you went to deal with the other loose end, and I was just kind of like, so whatever at that point. Plus there were some in-character events that kind of made sense. That basically, once you got there, the whole organization that you were fighting against had basically already collapsed, and you were just like the cleanup crew. So it was kind of this weird, semi-jokey ending that I think mostly worked, but it was also, I was just done. I didn't want to do anything else. I technically had an encounter planned if you decided to fight him, but I think all the players were pretty much done too at that point.
I can pinpoint the exact moment in that game where I didn't want to play anymore. And that is when we went to that one island with construct people, and it became a real-life shouting match. And at that point, I was like, I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah. And it was really just like I don't remember exactly why you went there, but it was kind of this semi-throwaway plot idea that I just kind of like, it's kind of a joke, and it's like, if the players want to go investigate it, I can do more with it. I can turn this into an actual, like, hey, something's wrong here. We should like maybe stay and fix it. And then it was like, no, we're here to do something else. We'll do this and then we'll leave. And so it's like, okay.
The other character that came in didn't make it much better.
No, they might have been slightly worse.
I remember, for some reason, my character wanted to go into this crypt forest to go find an abandoned shrine. Don't remember why. Wanted to do it.
I think it was related to your weird divinity thing.
Yeah, and then one of the suggestions was, I will go off and try to find it so you guys aren't in danger. And as soon as I left, a suggestion was made, let's just leave them in the forest and go home.
Who made that?
The gnome.
The gnome who made
stupid armor gnome.
Yeah, the gnome in armor that tried to play off that they weren't actually a gnome.
That character, I don't know. The
character was a meme.
That character was the final nail in the coffin.
Everybody can make a bad character. That was just a really bad character.
Everyone can make a bad character. We've all made bad characters.
The character before it, I understood where the character was coming from because I, as the DM, helped them make their character. But I think because of how that character was and a certain other old man character, I think as far as me as a DM playing a game, if I plan for a game to be long term, more than like a one shot, more than like a 4-shot, like a little mini campaign, I will have an age cap on characters because it doesn't make any sense for this ancient retired person to come out of retirement to go on this like epic years long journey.
Yeah, it can be weird. It can be real weird.
Because the first character was basically a middle-aged what's the term? Midlife crisis?
Yeah, had a fucking midlife crisis.
Yeah, they had some traumatic stuff happen in their past, which they refused to talk about with anybody.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime someone brought it up, it became a shouting match.
Yeah, it's like I wouldn't talk about it. It's like, well, then don't bring it up, because if you bring something up, you need to talk about it, not just tease people.
Yeah. I mean, when I build this side tangent, when I build a character, my thought process for character building is they're gonna want to do whatever, because you know what, fuck it, dude, they're out killing goblins or whatever, they're young and stupid,
they just learned the explode goblin spell.
This person who's going out killing these monsters, they're a young dumbass who doesn't know shit about the world. That's the characters I play. I don't play old people most of the time. Cole was an exception because he was a super high level character when he came in.
I do occasionally play older characters, but usually it's an older character that, the idea is, this is me coming back, like, maybe I didn't have a life and this is like my new life or something, or like, it's the character that, like, this is their second life or something, like, or maybe I build an actual reason to be there with the group, like, this is why my character, is here now, like,
Biologically speaking, I'm gonna ignore Cole because he's not really a character. He doesn't do anything in that game.
Cole is an NPC plus.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
The sad part is Cole could become an NPC and nothing would change.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad. I built the only actual character in that game. I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah.
That's a side tangent. But Misty, biologically speaking, is the oldest character I've ever made. She's like 35 years old. So I'm gonna just purely biology.
I have a 36-year-old character, but like realistically, they're probably more like 22.
Yeah, because they're a long-lived individual.
Yeah, they live a long time and they mature early, so it's kind of this weird kind of thing. I think they mature at like 14 or 16 or something like when they're like fully developed. But they live like 3 or 4 times longer than a human or something ridiculous.
They live like 4 years or something.
Yeah, so the 36 part, it makes sense with the lore that I've worked with the character, but like realistically, they're still pretty young for like their people.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tend to. I don't personally like playing characters that are 18 to 20, and I refuse to play anybody under an adult age, and I also refuse to allow players in my games.
I typically stick a character around like 25 for human years.
Because it's hard for me to roleplay someone that's young.
Yeah.
Like I've been young. I remember what I was like when I was young. I don't want to play that. So I shoot for like the 20 to 25 range.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of my comfort zone, and it makes sense, because if you think about like, okay, well, let's say they're a human, right? So after 16 years or whatever the D&D equivalent is, like they're an adult, but they're just a commoner still, right? So they have to like train and like experience a little bit of life before they're like, I'm now a fighter or whatever. I went to fighter school, and then maybe something happens and they're like, oh, well, my home was burned down and now I'm on a quest to avenge them.
Yep.
That may take time.
There are good reasons to play older or younger characters. Like, I think it's easier to play that younger character because we've experienced being younger, though, too.
I think Misty is a good example. Misty and Cole are both two good examples of doing older characters because they came in later level, so they have that life experience. And not so much Cole, but Misty came in, saw, God, these young people are fucking stupid. I need to teach them how to do literally anything.
It has been very much teaching them how to do anything.
But that's a tangent.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, speaking as this, certainly, there are games that I've liked getting to the end of, and I've gotten to the end of games. We all have, like, ended games. I think more nowadays I've ended them, actually. Like, that I've actually had, like, a solid ending. But...
Madness of the Land, I think, was canceled early?
Well, that's a game that I feel like it died. For various reasons. And that's a game death, that one more is. Which is, like, something, why I want to talk about separately. This is sort of like Children of Wrath. If I let them, they would be another 40 sessions of I don't know what the fuck before they would actually complete it.
They don't want to do anything. Because we've hit the problem. Children of Wrath has the problem of, in my opinion, the characters don't care about anything.
Yeah.
As a DM, it is impossible when your player characters in your game stop caring, your game is dead.
Like, the thing is, fortunately, it's not all the characters, but it's like 50% of the characters just don't care enough to do
they
stuff.
Don't give a shit about the villains. They don't care about the plot. And
they are the villains.
One of them is the villain.
Yeah.
It is basically impossible to come back from when a character doesn't care.
So it's been trying to finish it with that kind of like challenge at heart. That's kind of what I've been trying to do is finish a game with a very powerful, like, an annoying challenge in the way of it. And so Children of Wrath is pretty much in the position where I'm going to be like, well, I'll just, like, I guess finish it next time or something.
I mean, I remember Records. Records was very difficult to finish. I alone drug that game to the end.
Yeah, I will agree. It was one of those ones that was also an incredible challenge to find an end for. And, like, we were close to it. It's one of those ones is like, you can certainly let a game die. Like, that is a thing too. But a lot of times you want to, if you can and you're close enough, you want to finish it if it's possible. Mm-hmm. Which can be a challenge. Like, it's a trade-off sometimes. Like, I think, and games do die. And there's reasons for games to die. Things happen. They cause them. There's a lot of them. We'll talk about that another week.
Potentially next week.
Because again, like, I think the reason I want to talk about games dying is when to recognize it should die, when to recognize it you can save the game, and understanding these two things and, like, what maybe you can do if the game is save worthy to save it.
Yeah.
In this case, it's you're finishing it. It's just
the game where you played Badger.
Yeah.
That game I ended early.
Yeah.
There was more I wanted to do.
There's so much more you wanted to do.
There was because my original story was you would get to that tower, fight him, he would flee, you would pursue him, and then you'd have your last couple levels fighting through the Underdark.
That would have been cool.
I didn't do that because one character pissed me off too much.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get that character to stop. It was just too antagonistic of the character. They didn't care. I don't know. It's just it made that one character made me not want to run the game.
It was. I think it's the character was more than not caring. I think was the issue. Is like it's sort of like honestly a reason why like I feel like we could. It was easier to finish with Nax per se than that character. Nax didn't care.
Yeah, Nax just didn't give a shit and just kind of went along with whatever.
So that's the thing is, Nax went along with it, and I think that was the issue.
The pirate
Nax actually didn't fight against the party.
The pirate fought against the party at every step.
Yeah, the pirate also hated they were super racist. They hated the majority of people on the continent that they were on adventuring. There's no logical reason why that character either wouldn't be arrested or leave.
Yeah, by all rights, because there was a point where you had met Vera. She came back, and she's like this super important oracle.
Yeah.
For this region, because she literally is like the right hand of the Kitsune god at this point.
Yeah.
It was very hard for me to justify a reason for not kicking this pirate out immediately, because the sheer immediate disrespect and then theft of items, I just didn't. Why would you do that? I don't understand. You were informed that this person is like a very important figurehead, and if you fuck with them, you got someone in the party who works for this shrine, they might just smite you to death.
Yeah, I was playing a paladin at the time, and they like blatantly stole from the place I worked for. And then they were like, I got all these cool items, I'm going to give them to them. It's like, you're going to give them to the paladin? And they're like, oh, no, that's probably not a good idea. They wouldn't do that. It's like, yeah, that'd be stupid, because they'd turn you in immediately.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, like, and I understand why it happened, but, I was just like, the curse thing, like, was kind of like, we didn't know he stole it.
No, he would have been the only one at fault.
Yeah.
Because zone of truth exists.
Yeah.
Because he not only stole cursed items and then gave them to the party, which then cursed the party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there were some pretty nasty curses, because these were powerful items.
Yep.
It was
like, I'm glad the paladin didn't get one, even though the paladin was just been like, hey, I know what this is. I've seen it before. I know what the curse is.
Hey, I'm gonna go take this to Vera and get removed first. Then you deal with the problem immediately.
Yeah, it would have been immediately, and they probably would have been like imprisoned. Just period. That's like roll new character. Your character's been put in jail. And that's not the only time someone has thieved in one of your games.
Yes, I can talk about that game, because that game did end at a point where I was like, all right, you did part of your arc. I'm gonna end it here. I'll pick it up eventually again if I can find more players. But I'm still absolutely staggered with this. The campaign basically ended because someone was a fucking kleptomaniac. And I didn't know how to punish them. Because every tomb they went in, they just immediately started opening up coffins to steal shit. That's easy not to punish. Hey, it's a mimic, or there's a zombie in there, you get grabbed, right?
You just have all of them trapped.
Yeah, all of them trapped. You guys went to the capital city, kind of. The capital city of a civil warring faction. You went to the most important church in the country that was being attacked by vampires. During the combat, what does the player do? Doesn't help. Steals a very important sacred artifact, hides it in this genie bottle.
They just scoped out one of the relics on display
Scoped out relics to steal, and then fucking gave it to an extra planar creature.
Yeah, so it was deleted from the world, basically.
So that's just gone. They're never getting that back.
Yeah, I think I was playing.
You were really cursed.
I was a super cursed
you were like
demon elf,
cleric rogue or something.
Yeah, I was cleric rogue, and I think because the way the gods or lack thereof was done in that game, I was technically oracle-ish as well.
You were kind of oracle-ish, yeah, because the
gods
kind of in the forefront, yeah. And then through a process of shit, I ended the game because I just dwindling player count. I'm like, okay, you guys have technically reached the end of this arc. If I get more players, I can continue it. We're gonna stop here. I never got more players, but I technically ended that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did have an ending.
That's the thing. Is that's a game where certainly what we're talking about is important because it's sort of like you needed to end that game, and a need to end a game can come up. Like our discussion now, not going to really help out players. This is going to help out,
This is for GMs.
This is for GMs because
GM moment.
You will reach points where you're like, I got to end this game. I just got to stop it. I got
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
As soon as that ship blew up, I was like, all right. As soon as Nax blew up the ship, I'm like, all right, this is now a linear game. You're just going straight to the end.
Yeah. It's just an unfortunate thing that situations can occur, and again, I'll talk about dead games. I want to talk about games that are dying or dead, and they're dead, and you can't do about them. But in this case, it's the situation where you will reach a point in time in a game where you might be close to the end, honestly, and when you're close to the end, you want to finish. We all want to complete stuff. We want to complete our story we've been telling.
Yeah.
But the issue then comes that you're like, well, how am I going to do this? What am I going to do?
It can be hard, especially if you have a lot of plans.
Yeah. It can be very difficult, especially if someone blows up your spaceship. That was effectively the only way for me to give you information.
Yeah. I think I was a player in a game, and it was such a long time ago. I feel like it ended early, but for not like oh, you finished the story. It was kind of like, here's a way to wrap something up and we're done, kind of thing. Kind of half dead, half end early.
Yeah.
And that's a thing that happens too.
Yeah. I mean, I've been in plenty of games that have had to end earlier than the GMs wanted to. When my old group did Lost Mines, we intended it. The DM intended it to go. So Lost Mines is 1 to 5. There was supposed to be a 5 to 10 after that. We just ended at 5 because of player difficulty. Two of the players didn't agree with the DM on a lot of things, so it's like, okay, this is a stopping point. End the campaign.
Yeah, and
we have a satisfying ending.
Yeah, that's when you can have that satisfying ending, when you have to kind of end it like that. That's good. That's what you want. You want to have something that feels satisfying for players, and it's not always easy.
I will say, Records of Evil only satisfying because of the ending.
Asmolcon was awesome.
That's the only reason that game to me was satisfying.
I claim part of that because I think I was in chat.
Yeah,
you did meme about it. Yeah.
Yep.
And it became the greatest idea for the game.
It was
name
so
of the idea.
good. It was too stupid and too good, and I mean, it reminds me of Tantus. I don't know if you would agree that this game was end early, but Grinding Gears.
Mm-hmm.
Grinding Gears, I think, had a rushed ending.
Because
we had a hard.
Yep.
Yeah, we had a hard ending date because one of the players was like, "Hey, I literally cannot play past this time frame. And it was kind of like, oh, okay, well, I'll wrap things up. And then like a month later, it's like, hey, are we getting anywhere close to the ending? Because I can't play next month. And it was like, oh, let me do like 2 episodes to wrap it up.
Yeah, and Joe felt rushed, but it was sort of like he didn't realize like he wasn't going as far as he wanted to. Like, the idea was that, he had his idea of his story in mind, and we had to rush it. But I'm like, we talked about this, that, our good friend Josh there, he needed to wrap up because...
he was moving or something?
No, his wife was having a child.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
I remember this story.
His second born was going to be born, and he needed to be ready to help out with the, everything.
Be a dad.
Being a dad, he would have to spend more time with his other daughter and stuff like that, and all these things that are important when when a child is being born. He's like, I have to put this time aside,
Mm-hmm.
And I know Joe was certainly rushed by that, but it's sort of like sometimes time things, getting your ending is not easy, and he got his ending. At least he managed to get one. That was good. The ending wasn't bad, and he managed that, but it wasn't an easy thing.
It was a weird, but I think overall okay ending for like the players.
Yes. I think certainly we were in a situation where we could have had the game die. We would run out of time. And, I've had games that have died. My first 2 games on Twitch, Treasure Lost Legion, which is ages ago before I knew any of you, and then Madness of the Land, both pretty much died. Now, Treasure died for different reasons, but Madness, I can say, that died because of all the issues that were going on in the game. That's what caused it. And those issues, you're going to face those issues. It's just the question sometimes if you can use those issues to, hey.
Sometimes you can push through and have an early ending, like a rushed ending. Other times you can't.
No.
Yeah.
It happened. Every person with experience with DMing has had a game die. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It just it happens.
I think it's just like when you're looking at getting a game to a completion because you feel like it's an appropriate thing. It's a challenge no matter what.
Yeah.
And getting a completed story certainly it's both good and, bad in a way. Because getting there, you got to figure out a way to get there. And, your players, they're not looking towards that completed story.
And another thing in the topic of, like, making a story, because D&D, or any tabletop game, usually, most tabletop games, I guess, it's a collaborative storytelling thing. Mm-hmm. You as the game master or the dungeon master or whatever, you may have an idea in mind, but once you throw that idea onto the players, it's kind of their story too, and you kind of have to run with it, because if you just force your ideas, the players aren't going to have a good time usually, unless they're super into your ideas.
Yeah.
So being able to...
In reality, as much as it's your story that you're writing, it is the story of these players, of these characters. This is a good analogy. You are every supporting character trying to get these individuals to complete their hero's journey.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have a story that really gels well with your party, and other times, maybe it's slightly different expectations from some of the players, and so they don't enjoy it as much, and therefore you usually don't enjoy it as much, and that's where you end up with either a rushed finish or a dead game.
Where you could always end up with a character that you have to deal with that one wants to just do drugs, the other one wants to commit genocide.
God,
those aren't characters; those are tropes.
I just wanted to leave them there.
I would have. I don't know what I would have done. It would have been hilarious.
I just wanted to just see what, because there is always a part of me that's like, I want to see because Kazran has caused so much shit. I want to see how would they react if I took a moment to step into that teleport portal last. I'm like, what if the wheels went? What if I just didn't go in?
Honestly, I was actually considering just closing down that portal after you guys went in and being like, well,
yeah, like what if Cole just doesn't?
Just decides to go home and rethink his life.
Because there are many things that I, as Cole, have held back from saying. And had Claude ever gotten his chat with the party to be like, we're all like, what the fuck, dude? Why are you talking to the Nazi in your head? I would have straight up said, hey, as your companion, I'm gonna tell you this, guys. My first instinct, like if it had gotten to that point, would be to have all three of you killed as soon as possible. You are literal menaces to this world.
Claude makes efforts. He got the Nazi out of his head. He's trying to make himself not be a monster. And you actually talked to him about, like, don't do the shadow shit. And he's like, it's like, don't do the shadow shit, It's sort of like, that's like a thing that it's bad, but it's not as bad. It's an army of indiscriminate power, They just want to go attack things, That's why it's sort of like don't use that one. It's not the worst thing you could do, but it's not good. Indiscriminate killing army. Not good to have.
Yeah, it's... I don't know, man. I try my best.
You do. And I think I can get it done in a session. I'm not going to guarantee it because I have to see how the story goes. And honestly, I don't know how much I'm going to have to cut out. Well, the thing is, like, it's how much I'm going to have to cut out because I am not going to do a combat. I don't want to stat out any of these dudes.
Straight up. All right, what I've seen of Claude and Carrion, they will just die. They're not combat characters. They are so poorly built. But Mads got better because Mads is full druid now.
Yeah, but Mads is Mads.
Mads is Mads.
And honestly,
great character.
If I wanted to, I could create stuff that would be their CR and it would just murder them, or like stuff that would feel like a boss. But I would have to make it not feel like a boss. I don't know. Like there's just
I don't think it's worth it because also you've given them overpowered shit that I don't, as a player, don't even want to think about what the hell that does in combat.
Well, freaking Kaz stuff does nothing in combat. Honestly, I gave Kaz one thing to like, hey, all these like stuff you have, you can use it one time for like doubly effect, but it breaks. That's what his overcharge does. It's sort of like, hey, my arcane cannon fires to do double damage. It doesn't work anymore. You broke it. Cool. Yeah. That was sort of helpful.
Like,
and like Mads' stuff. I gave her stat boosts a lot. Like immunities.
For pure combat, if we're just doing combat, Cole is the only actual D&D character. Claude somewhat, but Rogue Warlock is kind of weak.
But if he actually has a good opportunity and actually uses his forms properly, he could do something pretty cool. Like, because honestly, like in a situation, I gave him a lot of really good abilities, but he just never uses them.
No,
just giant form and smash everything. Giant's really strong.
Giant's really strong. It's basically like it's just a powerhouse form. If he wants to just be a straight, but the thing is, it's just a melee thing. Then but he doesn't use any of his forms correctly, honestly, and that's fine. It's probably for the best because I think it makes him a better character, honestly, that he doesn't do that.
This really should have been like a Shadowrun type setting system, not D&D, because Shadowrun is about avoiding combat, and you have all these skills to help you avoid combat.
Yeah.
Like the hacking and whatever, all the artifice, that'd just be a hacking stand-in. The magic stuff, there's mages, if you want to be a rogue, you're just a fighter person.
Yeah,
like the more I've seen of Wrath, the more it's like this would have been better as a non-combat system.
And honestly, like a lot of the abilities they have, I could have come up with supplemented versions of it that would have worked in Shadowrun in the rules, and they just would have been like boosts that honestly characters could get stuff kind of like that. It's just sort of like it's cheating the point buy for a while. You know, it's like
what you would do is you would just get like Vampire Masquerade or something where you get like extra experience points to buy things. That's what you would do. You just be like, hey, you have these extra points. You can have like this one resistance or something that acts like this item.
It'd be like Claude would have learned like special shape-changing magic that's more powerful than normal shape-changing magic. Kaz would have had like Kaz would have had like, you know, here's a hacking program that's more advanced than any other one, and Carrie would just been like, for whatever reason, here's some physical stat boosts. You don't know why you got them. Good luck. You know, you just got some mystical stat boosts. Enjoy.
You could also technically change their race to one that's got like a natural flying speed.
Yeah. Stuff like that. There are those in Shadowrun.
Shadowrun would have worked surprisingly well.
No, that's hindsight. This game started like two fucking years ago.
It did start like 2 years ago.
It's 100% hindsight. But like,
I gotta be honest.
The last thing is just draw a map and be like, here's your objectives.
Yeah.
I'm not even doing that. I don't even want to do that. I'm just saying like you're just gonna go to them. I'm basically my idea is split up all these like 6 teams, narrate what each of the fucking 6 teams does, and like decide what each of them is doing ahead of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's it. Narrate it.
Yeah.
Maybe for the teams that NPCs are on, make a couple of skill checks.
Yeah.
You know?
See how fast things get done.
Yeah.
Maybe have explosions if they're really slow or roll poorly and they take damage.
Yeah.
But to move on,
yeah.
Is there anything else anyone would like to add to the cutting a game short?
Don't feel bad if you have to do it.
Yes. I think sometimes the choice will be made between moving on to that dead game option or cutting your game short. I say just cut the game short.
Yeah. If you have the option, cut it short.
Life can cause it. A lot of things can cause you to need to cut the game short. You becoming, as we said, jaded by the game, or the game going on too long, you know.
Some form of ending is better than no ending.
Yeah. And so when you're at that option, take the option. And just, if you have to rewrite stuff, rewrite stuff. If you have to, cut big content things, cut the big content things. Just see what can be satisfying. And honestly, use your epilogue. Like, just describe it. Like, if there's something you wanted to do, like, just epilogue that, like, there was this other adventure you guys went on afterwards, and did this thing, and eventually you would defeat the great evil, this was his one general, there you go.
Yeah.
Came out a super buff immortal sorcerer.
True.
I really... That ending was just so weird. But it was
couldn't think of anything to wish for. It's like, I don't know, I want to be buff, because I had, like, no constitution for that whole game. I almost died, like, 2 or 3 times. It's like, if the character dies, you can't replace me. We had no allies in that game.
I just wanted to be done with it, so I was like, just send me to reality. I'm done with this universe. I'm done with all of it. I just want to be in somewhere where I'm not the most important thing in existence, and I can just live out my pretty much immortal existence just doing normal shit. Like,
We became adventurers in Faerun at the end of that
honestly,
game.
Faerun always has problems showing up. I can just go work on some problems, keeping a real world where I'm not critical important, like healthy from the shadows, I don't want my name out there. I just want to go around and help people because that was my nature, and not have to worry about, the freaking, Banner, great creator of planets, or something like that.
Yeah, that game was a fan fiction.
Everything I've heard of it sounds like an experience.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just one of those things is like, Joe isn't a bad writer. He just needed a proofreader.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it was.
So where do you usually start? What day do you start with for the weekend?
Usually Saturday evenings, if we do a Saturday evening, which I don't think we did because I was originally planning on doing a one-shot. Oh, I did some Tabletop Sim, if you didn't watch it at the end of the birthday stream. That was good. Yeah, I think we did, what the fuck did we play? Oh my god.
Sadly,
I don't remember. I think you played the Mysterium or whatever.
We did do Mysterium earlier in the day, which is fun. I'd like to do it.
I think I might have missed the Tabletop Sim.
Yeah, that was right at the end with Joe. Was able to join in. High Noon Saloon. That's what we
did. I think I watched some of the rule explaining, but I had to go, so I didn't.
High Noon Saloon is a fun one. It certainly it's one of those ones that honestly, it's sort of like someone gets lucky at the end, or like you've got to make a choice and leave yourself out there, because it's sort of like if you eliminate someone, honestly it's the two people, or some people eliminate each other, their target, especially with that 3-player. We had to keep trying to like keep each other in check, and then it was like at the end, honestly I tried to go for a swing killing both of them. Joe had the defensive cards, Worm knocked me out, or Worm hit me back, and at that point in time I'm like, shoot, I don't have defensive cards. Unless if Joe gets lucky with a 1 or 2 cards, I'm screwed. And he got lucky with 1 or 2 cards.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, that's the Tanta's luck for you.
Well, it was like I was at a health that it didn't take a lot to knock me out, and I had no defenses. So, but that's not Salute. It's fun. Sunday. Do you folks do anything on Sunday?
I don't think we ran it because Stell wasn't feeling good.
Stell has COVID, so we didn't run the game.
Yeah. And we're technically not going to run it this Sunday either, because there's something else happening in that time.
It is something else.
Everyone's got to make a damn character.
It'll be fun to talk about that one if I come back next week.
That'll be a time.
We will at least discuss what happened as players. Monday, I don't know if any of you have Monday. I know you guys have some of you have Tuesday.
I don't do anything on Mondays.
Okay.
I think Monday was your Pathfinder game sometimes, but that's over, or like monthly.
It moved
or something?
to Fridays, and it still hasn't. We were going to have it this week, but then one of the players was not going to be there, so we didn't have it this week.
Oof.
We have it eventually.
Tuesday is the Stars Without Numbers game. I know what games I play.
Yeah, it's the one where you're a fox. Wait, that's the mini games.
I'm a big fox lady, like anthropomorphic fox lady. She's very fluffy and has wings. I forced the party to talk about where they're from and some of their immediate goals, because it's session 3 and we only pretty much know our characters' names and some of our abilities, because we went to the communist planet, which sucked.
We did go to the horrible communist planet.
Why are you doing going to communist planet?
We didn't have a choice in that.
Yeah, the pilot kind of kidnapped us because they're like, I want to go to this place, and since I'm flying, I'm not going to ask anyone questions and just fly over here.
Is the pilot a player? Am I going to say this here?
The pilot is a player.
Yeah.
Oh,
a player.
Boy.
Yeah, I think after our conversation, they probably won't do that anymore.
I think the point got across.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's kind of like, there's a lot of us, and we're kind of going to have to stop at other planets to like get missions to fund the ship. That we all have our own ideas and goals.
We do. We're all individuals.
We got a mission to haul food, and a crazy xenobiologist man who's obsessed with aliens. He fangirled meeting my fox lady.
He's never seen a giant fox lady. He asked for your blood, I think.
He wanted my blood, and I was like, I don't think so. Even though that could potentially reveal information about the character, I don't think they want to give blood to some random dude who says that they are a thing. Honestly.
Yeah, just some dude walks up, can I have some of your blood?
Can I have some of your blood? It's like, I don't think so. I think I'm gonna keep my blood for now.
Are you sure you don't need it?
I very much need my blood. I'm sorry.
So I got like partially kidnapped and handed an actual like physical letter.
Yeah, that was a thing that happened
by one of my people. I don't know why it couldn't have been an email, but I read the letter and then naturally ate it to hide the evidence.
Your people are just the KGB. Your lizard KGB.
We are, the lizards that run society. So, we're the lizard people.
So if we got the job, the xenobiologist guy was like, I just have a couple thousand tons of equipment I want to bring with us. And I was like, hey, our ship's full of food because we're doing another job. Just limit it to one shuttle full. So he did. He brought an entire shuttle full of equipment.
Yep.
So we went to this planet. It imports food because its biosphere can't support like normal growing life, or it can't support a self-sustaining amount of food. Probably is more likely the case. And there was a desert dust storm, which ironically and not on purpose, I was looking at the rules and just reading different things, and your ship sensors can detect so much basic stuff just with basic sensors. I don't know why we didn't detect a dust storm. I guess because we didn't ask.
Plot.
But hey, guess what? We will be from now on forever asking what the weather is like on planets.
Yeah.
Because it was like, oh, you're in a dust storm. You immediately have to land in the middle of the desert. So we landed in the middle of the desert, and we got attacked by Mad Max pirates.
Yeah, some Mad Max pirates showed up and wanted our food. So I devised the genius plan of, hey, let's give it to them, but let me put a bomb in the box first. So I made a plasma bomb, put it underneath all the food, gave it to them, and then blew like 2 cars up with the plasma bomb because they're dumbasses didn't look in the box.
No, they just were like, oh, there's booze on the top. Hell yeah, I've got a score.
Mad Max Pirates rule!
They didn't ask to look at any other cargo holds. They just assumed that was all of our food and water. They were very dumb.
They were the worst pirates.
One car got like blown up with a ship laser. Another one got shredded with like a big heavy machine gun. And I did nothing in that combat.
I just drove the vehicle.
Yeah, you drove.
Yeah.
I was in a shuttle, then I didn't want to be in the shuttle, so I teleported to the car.
Yeah. And I think you shot at it but missed. I shot at it and damaged it slightly because it has an armor value, and I just rolled damage high enough. I did like 2 damage to it.
Then they horribly missed with a rocket, and then I think Cell like shredded them with a minigun.
Yeah, the heavy machine gun like ripped them to pieces.
Okay.
And then we dragged one of the salvageable cars in. You started like breaking it apart.
Yep.
And we waited for the dust storm. We flew to the place and docked. I believe we did the selling part. We sold our cargo.
We sold the cargo, got the reward,
divided the money up.
and then we hashed out the ship repairs.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna do a shopping episode and then adventure.
Yeah, and we're gonna go into this horrible cave or something.
2 people in the party. One is wearing dancer's clothing.
Yep.
And my character is wearing a jumpsuit that doesn't fit. So 2 people need to buy new clothing.
Yeah, I've been wearing a dancer's uniform for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
This like pretty silky, colorful.
You need very specific clothing because you've got big old wings and a big.
I have wings and a tail.
It's gonna be fun to figure out how to get you a spacesuit.
Yeah, a vacuum suit. It's gonna be awful. I'm gonna have to be like huge. Like it's gonna be like, all right, this is designed for like some 7-foot tall amorphous blob monsters, but you can probably fit in it. Yep. Because wings and a tail. Well, there was jokes about having vac bags.
Well, we also had a Wednesday.
We did.
Yeah. You folks decided to...
Jacob got a new girlfriend.
Jacob got a new girlfriend. Yeah, honestly. And you decided to go check out a nice place with some Cyclops.
Yeah.
Turns out there's a lot of them.
Honestly, there is a lot of them, but they weren't that bad.
Well, you know, it's like it's the thing is you guys got pretty beat up and had to withdraw, and I'm gonna have to like actually figure out what happens.
I mean, the easiest one is you move a couple forward and set them on like reactions, and then maybe you add like 2 more or something. That's like the simplest way to do it.
Yeah, it's like
you just add an additional encounter.
Yeah.
With fire and brimstone.
Which makes up for it because we helped a genie lady and got some wishes.
Yep.
I wished away the mini boss.
You did, which I'd set up for you to kidnap the mini boss. Now you already did.
I'm like, you know, here's a little background on Rio. Rio would have probably wished for someone who in his past was like super fucking dead to come back. He's like, that's kind of fucked up. They might be enjoying the afterlife. I don't trust myself with this. I also have this promise to keep. I'm going to make that promise easier.
Yeah, if you miss the plot line, it's they met some ghost Cyclops that are like, hey, we need you to retrieve this artifact. We're going to give you this other one, which doesn't really help us a lot. But we also need you to retrieve one of our descendants who, like, honestly is probably the closest to us in abilities, and we can maybe, like, teach them to do some stuff to help their people. So, yeah, please bring them to us so we can, like, at least try to help out our descendants. God damn them. It's like they're like, God damn these guys.
Yeah, and then, well,
we died for this.
Very confused, I assume.
Oh, yeah. They'll be very confused, but honestly, you don't have to worry about that. That's all, like, off, like, stream stuff. Things will happen as a result of that honestly won't come up for you guys.
Don't worry. Nat will go there and cast the spell, Destroy Giant.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very specific spell.
It's a very specific spell.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so, it went well. And you fought a trapper that was just...
Fought a trapper
that
almost killed someone.
They are kind of horrific. And like
I almost killed 2 people from the sounds of it.
It nommed people.
So it vomited someone out and tried to run away, but then Cell wanted to chase it and then almost died because of it.
Yeah, Cell was like, I'm going to cut it off from running away.
Which was a plan. And honestly, you know what? No sympathy if you died there, bud.
There was a possibility at that point in time, but it was at low health. Like, it runs when it's at a 3rd health.
Yeah. Things in Pathfinder have runaway mechanics for a reason. Because things that fight to the death are immediately deadly. And much more difficult.
And this thing is just like, it trying to get a meal. It honestly doesn't want to fight to death. Like the Cyclops, they're desperate. You've learned, they're facing starvation and famine. Yeah. They will fight to the death because they're like, you are meat. We have to get meat.
Yeah, if Rio was a good character, right, there may have been something like we could try to negotiate with the Cyclopses to maybe make their lives better with our wishes. But nah, fuck that, they're assholes.
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't done anything to, like, make you...
They're on my land. That's what they've done.
It's not even that. I mean, like, if you walked up to a bunch of people and you tried to start a dialogue and they're like, we're going to kill and eat you, could you really continue having a dialogue when
you just kind of... No, you just kill them, right? Like, because most Cyclops are dumb and borderline mindless.
Yeah.
At this point. There's only a few intelligent ones.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like we're going to go the path of violence.
I mean, it's fine also, like, the fact is, like...
Adventure Path wants you to do that.
Well, Cyclops, unfortunately, in their savage ways, are very non-negotiable and have become basically... That was loud. They're chaotic evil. They're...
That was a Goliath. I mean, not a Goliath, a Cyclops.
That was a Cyclops. Like, they would have been, like, more neutral to lawful evil, honestly, in their old empire, which means you can get along with them. Granted, they're probably also might be going to declare war on you and try to conquer you because they think you as lesser things, but then they might only, like, enslave you instead of just eating you.
It's probably better that they're just cleared out.
Yeah, their civilization went away, and they've got really,
Summon Ling to consume all of the dead Cyclops.
Ling will feast
on the delicious, delicious dead Cyclops.
Yeah, Ling will have one hell of a feast.
We should have a stupid, like, Ling lesser deity, and their domain is like gluttony or something.
Yeah, sure. I'll put that in the Grim Hollow world.
Oh god, the giant fox of consuming all life.
Yeah, it's a fae of gluttony. It's just Ling.
Yeah, it's a giant fox that consumes all.
We did have Thursday then.
Thursday?
There was 2 Thursdays.
There was 2 Thursdays. Ooh.
I run a game on Thursday. You guys did things in town. You went and checked out your sweet manor that isn't in a livable state because it's a shithole.
Yeah, it's like boarded up.
Super disrepair because, no one's left to take care of it.
It probably wasn't in a good state before.
No,
but now it's been abandoned for like 2 years.
It's been abandoned for a hot minute.
Yeah.
I don't know what Cell did. I don't remember. I think he bought a pipe.
So we had to look up what a pipe costs.
Yeah, we'd look up the cost of a pipe in 5th edition.
It's $1 gold.
$1 gold apparently.
They're very like craftsman-y level, I guess.
I don't know if this is something I'll continue to do, but it's something I think is interesting and something I've kind of picked up from other DMs is like if the party is near an object like that just exists in the world, I'll throw out, hey, you notice this thing is a little weird, you have an Arcana check, and then I'll explain, oh, this is, you learn that this is this thing. I don't know if that's annoying to like you or the other players, which is what I did with the fireplace.
I didn't have any problem with the fireplace. It was more of one, I massively failed the check.
You did.
I rolled like
a check really badly. You rolled so bad.
I maybe I got a 9, which is still like I didn't even get a 10.
It was like a DC 13.
Yeah, I rolled below 10, so I'm like, well, I wasn't really gonna stop and look at it anyway, but I definitely didn't notice anything about it.
Yeah.
But that's mostly the character.
Yeah,
because the character has other priorities.
I kind of like to do because it's pointing out an object in the world that could become of importance later, but it's also like subtle world building. Yeah,
it's world building. I thought it was fine. It's just my character wouldn't have cared even if I had made the check, it'd been like, huh, that's interesting. That's a way to like have fire. Yeah. And then they probably would have just left because it's not one of their like
definitely works focuses. More. Definitely the two more weirdo magic interested people were definitely more into it.
Yeah. If it was more related to the character's personal backstory and stuff, you might have been more interested in it. But at this tavern, it's like whatever.
Just do this tavern. But yeah, you made a check. You learned that this tavern has a fire elemental inside of its fireplace that keeps the place nice and toasty.
But see, like, I think that's the thing is, it's, the information, as long as it's interesting, I think is, like, I'm fine with little bits of information like that. Something that's interesting and something that, like, adds to the story of, like, this place.
I think it's a good way for me to also explain how these very populated towns exist this far up in the Arctic.
Yeah, it's very cold here.
For means of magic is how they exist.
Yeah, that makes sense for like adding to that entire thing. Oh, there's a magical means that they're doing this. That makes sense. Okay.
You would also know that they have hot houses for growing food. They don't have farms.
Yeah.
I
think that's fine.
But yeah, you learn that. Then you went and checked out your manor. You found it in pretty awful state, but it has a pretty fully stocked library. And you found an office with a journal.
Lightning has henceforth read the journal.
You've read it. Your character hasn't yet.
Yeah, the character will probably read it basically when we come back to town, because we're on our way back to town.
Yeah. The party was told, hey, if you want to help out, there are, some problems with Fae. Here's 2 good aligned Fae you could go talk to maybe, if you want to help with that. So they did. They talked to a dryad and a water lady.
Nymph.
Yeah, water nymph. You learn the dryad has suffered from some blight due to some infiltration from the unseelie court.
Quicklings.
Quicklings, specifically.
We're tiny assholes, apparently.
And you learned that the water nymph talked to your dad, and you asked one too many questions, and you learned that she thought your dad was hot.
Yeah, I don't know if there was anything more than just thinking hotness, and I didn't want to know, honestly.
Yep.
It's kind of like, I don't know how close him and Mom were, but I don't need to know. Mom's probably still super alive because she's like really old and lives a long time. But
don't want to deal with that one.
Yep.
But you went to some druid ruins and beat up more puppets.
Yeah, I used fire.
You beat up a flesh puppet.
Ooh, fleshy.
Yeah. That one horribly screamed.
It was an agony. And then you're totally good doctor man pulled it around a corner and started trying to get up to get its heart.
Yeah, our doctor man is like cursed.
I love that. Because Lynn is in that game, and Lynn is a Chaos Gremlin, as we all know. I just love that every time some kind of Fae thing happens, Lynn just calls it ungodly and tries to kill it.
Oh.
That's fine.
I'm really enjoying that game.
It's fun for me to run because I have never used Fae before. I typically stick to like devils and undead. But I figured I want to try something a little more difficult because Fae are inherently mostly
they're chaos.
They're chaos and they're just kind of dicks.
Yeah, they are like chaotic good and chaotic evil, basically.
Yeah, like
depending on which way you want to
go. A Fae villain is probably not really gonna destroy anything. They're just gonna be a giant asshole.
Yeah, they're just gonna make some town like really unhappy and be like, "How fun is this? All these people hate life, but they have to live."
God damn it. That does sound like a Fae villain.
I mean, there was the boat lady with the mask who's like, oh, who turned a bunch of fucking people into puppets and killed them. Was like, they're happier now.
Yeah, now that they're dead and don't have a soul or whatever.
I had a game where we had a Fae villain. Her entire thing was turn everyone into werewolves and then use this artifact that I have that allows me to control lycanthropes.
Hell yeah.
You all work for me now. Everybody can work for me. Everybody gets to be lycanthropes under my control.
So she was a capitalist Fae.
Well, maybe because like a beast god was like, here, have my artifact that lets you control this. Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah, you technically learned that like ley lines exist in the world.
Yeah. I think there's a lot to uncover, like lore-wise.
There's
I don't know
a lot
how much you've written.
I've written a decent bit. There's a lot like world lore that you guys just you don't have to explore. I've just written it mostly for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But like I'm playing I'll just say it. I'm playing a Belmont.
You're playing a goth woman with.
I am also playing a goth mommy.
You are literally a mother. You have a child.
Yes. I have like an 8-year-old child that I brought with me to this horrible frozen wasteland. But honestly, it's probably safer here than it was back home.
Honestly, the country isn't that bad. It just Fae are just kind of dicks sometimes.
Yeah. But like I like uncovering things. I'm still kind of like I think I'm more into the swing of the character now that we've had like the third session.
This is the second session.
It's only the second, man. It feels like
only the second session. A lot has happened.
Okay. Yeah. Because that's how all my characters are. I come up with an idea and a general like vibe I want to go with them, and then how the games end up playing out is kind of like where I'll swing with them. So I never have a fully complete character session 1. Like it takes like session 2 or 3, sometimes session 5.
I don't finalize my characters until like session 3.
Well, I think it's the same way. To make a good character, you kind of like come up with a basic idea, build the basic character. God damn you. These motorcycle people.
Another damn Cyclops running on and motorcycling.
And then you just kind of like put it into the world and kind of adapt it as necessary. I think that's like the good way of doing it.
Like, I mean, Misty was never intended to be a party mentor / mom. She just saw the state of these people and saw that the captain had the collective 1 brain cell. It's like, oh, fuck.
The captain is such an idiot.
The captain is a complete idiot. And I do love it. Yakul is great. It's like, why is he in charge? Honestly.
It's like, there were 2 things I was considering using my wish for it. And one of them was, I want to give Yakul, like, another point of intelligence. I want him to be I wish he was smarter.
It would have maybe helped.
Headband of intelligence appears on Yakul's head. The world begins to make more sense.
Yeah, cool.
Friday game.
Oh, we had a Thursday. More Thursday.
We had the moon adventure.
Yeah, we had 20 minutes of moon adventure.
I got to be honest. So, I had an idea for the basic idea of the session, the first part of it there. And my original idea was to go to the moon, but then I was like, somehow I couldn't convince everyone to not go to the moon altogether.
I don't know why they just didn't go in the damn portal.
So when they wanted to, like, oh, let's go have some people scout it out, I'm like, I guess we're doing this first, which took time out of it. And I'm like, okay, yes, there's some things there. And then I'm like, honestly, the power thing was just to punish you guys for going back and forth, because I just really, really was like, why the fuck are you doing this and not just going and taking care of it?
I don't know. They make dumb plans. I'm just here to cast a spell.
That's why I was like, hey, here's the plan. Do you want to do this? And they're like, yes. And I'm like, great! You're doing the plan I suggested. That's what I did at the end there. I gave you guys a plan. Because, honestly, they weren't coming up with a good one.
I mean, it doesn't help that, the two peoples in the party's first go-to is rip a hole in reality.
It really isn't.
You know what you would do? You know what? You know what I would have done, actually, Tantus?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm spiteful. I would have been like, yeah, sure, you guys want to do the rip a hole in reality thing? And what I would have done is I would have made that the next session, where it's like, cool, you go with your plan, you rip a hole in reality, and the universe resets itself, and none of you exist anymore.
That's not a satisfying ending.
But that's what I would have done.
That's just how you piss off your players.
But you see, at this point in time, two players are good. We have Cole, who's just, well, he's a glorified NPC, as we've discussed. And Claude, at least, has tried very heavily to be a good character. Why would you
get rid of Cole's family?
Yeah.
Because I'm spiteful.
I'm not that spiteful yet.
It probably would have only deleted the person who created it, to be fair. Because they would be like a time anomaly, and then
you go back to
the
specific moment, but the cast isn't there anymore.
Yeah. That would have felt.
Everyone wakes up. You look at your calendar. It's 3 years ago, and Kaz doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And someone else does the adventure.
And Slarvad does the adventure.
Yeah.
And you make a bunch of other friends that were the Slarvad's team that he made, and he has you go on these other misadventures, which are, and he's a good influence on Carrie, so she cleans herself up, and
that kind of ending would work in a book.
Yeah.
But not in a D&D game.
No.
Yeah.
Look, I'm all for killing Kazran. He needs to die at the end of the campaign, that's all I'm saying.
He'll probably at least be imprisoned. I mentioned that there's a dragon that's going along on this, a reincarnated dragon.
I will be 100% honest. Cole's just gonna, send people after him after this shit's done.
Yeah.
Just do a sending to a dragon. Be like, hey, I know where this dude lives.
Just gonna be like, we're just gonna deal with this guy before he becomes an actual fucking problem.
You make your own version of the Marvel's The Raft, where you send Kaz, the guy from Talaria, and the Nazi.
Yeah.
Just all the worst villains that, honestly, it's like, ethically you could just murder them. Like, you could probably murder them off, but you're like, ethically, we're trying to be civilized.
And
we'll just imprison them.
Send them to the moon.
You make a moon prison, yeah.
We'll just put them in a very tiny cell with an anti-magic field.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
You're there forever, dude. Good luck.
You can also just do the moon. There's no energy on the moon, so they can't act. The machine is broken. There's no magic. There's barely any oxygen. There's no food. Here you go. You're on the moon. Bye.
Honestly, it's really hard to teleport out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and without Cole.
Kaz is an artificer. He doesn't get teleportation circle.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And honestly, probably the Phyrexian's an artificer too, and the other guy, I guess he's a wizard, but if he doesn't have his spell book, he probably doesn't have teleportation memorized. He's a wizard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, anyway, but yeah, so it was like I started out and I did that part, and I was sending you back to the moon, and it's honestly, it was this thing of like the second time you're at the moon, I'm like thinking about like, and I'm like, I want to describe how this thing is, but it's really hard to because you guys just are like, I just wanted to narrate you explore, but you're like, it's like the let's open every door, and I'm like, I don't have a map here.
And that I wanted to always do the simple shit, but I have no weight in the party, so
you didn't say like, if you told me like, hey, I want to find engineering or the control room or anything like that, I would have been like, fine, you look around, you eventually find it. But instead you're just like, we don't know what we want to find, let's just wander around. And I'm like, I don't know what you want to go to then. I could just send you to some of these places, but like, I don't know what you're looking for because you don't tell me shit. I'm the DM, I should know this stuff. You go give me information.
Wrath is the game where Tanthus and I suffer for 3 hours.
And then so like I did manage to get them like, you know, I'm like, I have like, okay, I got you to the control room, that's fine. I cajoled you to at least somewhere where you could get information. I don't know if that's what you wanted because I didn't know why you wanted to go to the moon, honestly. They never actually told me.
Yeah, no, I didn't understand why we were doing the moon.
I'm really out of touch with that game. But like, you guys went to the moon and you learned that the moon was a weapon, which you guys already knew, and then you left the moon. I don't know if they learned anything by going to the moon.
I gave them some stuff because honestly,
like some shield things.
Like I gave them a way to fight the thing, the session before, and so their thing was we don't have enough information. I'm like, you can't find enough information. I'm like, they asked some questions. I'm like, okay, I gave them some basic information. Is like this is some stuff, and that included that you know a big source of technology left over was the moon because they asked questions and I answered them truthfully, which I mean is it's one of those catch-22s, and I'm like I tried to explain to them going to the moon is stupid, but then they want to go talk to this thing that doesn't speak, and I'm like that's stupid also, you know, just go fight them please, or go make a plan please. No, we want to do more stuff, and I'm like okay, it doesn't communicate with you. Okay, fine, if you want to fucking go to the moon, it sends you to the goddamn moon, you know. And then they're at the moon, and I'm like okay, what do you want to do at the moon? I don't know, I just wanted to go to the moon.
Yeah, that's basically what Wrath is.
Why?
Because they're dumb.
So that's why I gave them, here's the exact shield like magical frequency, because they learned that like they could cancel the force shields with force magic, like attuned to the same frequency. I basically pulled a fucking Star Trek with force magic.
You did Star Trek them.
Yeah.
I Star Trek them. And then like they're like, we're going to use ballistic cannons from afar. And I'm like, it's short range and very temporary, you've learned. So the idea was, use your ship, punch a hole, go in there. But then they're kind of trying out with other plans. So then I'm like, fuck that shit. Here's a better plan. Just send you in there. 6 teams. Great. Because then I can just resolve the story in 6 little parts. Quickly and efficiently.
Yep.
And I can call it a day. And I had to put that together all during that time because I had to drag them kicking and screaming into this finale, apparently.
You really fucking do have to drag those 2 kicking and screaming.
Oh. It's an experience, that game.
Their plans... when your plan starts out with tearing a hole in reality, which you were strictly instructed to never do again, or you will be murdered.
Yeah, this is why Cole is actually going to kill Kazran at the end.
Because honestly, his research should be highly illegal now.
Kazran is actually going to either be imprisoned or die.
Like, there is... I have to tell you, there's research at Talaria they have locked away from over the years because they're like, shit, this stuff shouldn't get out anymore. Like, a lot of the stuff that Phyrexians did, like, you know, bioweapons and genocide, guess what? The Talarians also know how to do that. Guess what? They choose not to share that except with, like, you know, the people that watch after that kind of shit. No one looks at that research. You know, it's the kind of thing that's like, you know, a lot of, like, magical schools and colleges have forbidden research that you have to earn the right to look at because there's sometimes reasons to look at that stuff, a.k.a. stopping it, or there are sometimes practical uses for it, but you have to prove yourself worthy of that shit. Kaz is not worthy of this information.
He's not. So Kaz is just gonna like be imprisoned at the end of the game, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, just like, hey, here's a bunch of war crimes this person has committed and actual regular crimes.
Oh yeah, no, Cole is like, I've actually like stated, Cole is like actually taking a detailed record of everything these people do.
He likes to dismiss the fact of the Dracolich, but I'm like, look, man, this is what you wanted to do.
Yeah, no,
you made choices. It's the same thing of, we want to do this thing. I don't tell you how I'm going to do this thing. We just half-ass things when we get there.
Yep.
Results based on what you tell me.
That's what they do.
I will adapt the results based on what you tell me. If you had said some better things of like, hey, I'm just going to use a random necromantic ritual on this. I'm like, instead of asking like, hey, can I adapt this random necromantic ritual to basically cast like a very powerful version of Speak with Dead? That's more like, instead of actual Speak with Dead, basically contacting a lost soul. And I'd be like, cool, that's something you can do. You can bring back the lost soul into this body temporarily so it basically can shut itself down and cause itself to fall apart permanently, which is what I thought they wanted to do. And I'm told you basically like, there's like, what it carries like, what can I do? And I'm like, okay, here's the necromantic rituals that you learned from your ancestor by doing the communal thing. What do you want to do with them? Just use them straight as they were, which is necromancy, which I informed her.
Yeah, they're idiots, dude. Anyway.
What is that? That was a lady dragon or something, right?
Oh yeah, they brought back a technically neutral lady dragon who had like, she didn't see humans as pests but didn't really like them either. She was just sort of like, whatever, they're here on the planet.
But the lady dragon's alive husband or whatever is like super angry that not only was their mate turned into this abomination, but now their mate is a resurrected abomination.
Yeah.
And people know who did that.
Honestly,
I don't think they're strong enough to fight a super elder dragon.
Nope.
And so it's sort of like, it's this weird situation where, yes, her husband resurrected as a nigh-immortal human because he was forced to, because his elder dragon body was destroyed, and he, fortunately, for himself, fortunately old enough and wise enough at that point in time to figure out a way to cheat death. Great for him. But again, maybe he was like fine with Thraxos being asleep. It's sort of like one of those things. It's like, yeah, they used my wife's bones, but I couldn't do anything about it, and it's gone now.
Yeah, it's not not active. It's not actively desecrating their name or their
like
memory
with it being resurrected. He might have done something if it actually started rampaging. That would have made him maybe have himself concerned, but instead they actually resurrect her into like an abomination, and it's sort of like, well, now it's a very like, it's happy your wife's back, but also like you probably like were accepted she was dead, but then also like she's kind of a horrific monster that what do you do about that? What do you do about that?
I mean, if there's anything to take away from all this, that Cole has literally done nothing wrong.
Yeah.
I believe a lot of undead also canonically hate the living.
Yes, they do.
So that thing will eventually be like, you know what? All these voices in my head that say kill all living things, I think I agree with them. And it's going to go on a murderous rampage because it's an undead abomination.
The fortunate thing is Dominaria does point that a lot of more intelligent undead at least can, in quotation, get along with the living, but it's the idea that, like, they don't care about the living still. Like Navinaral, he was a lich. He ruled over an empire. He had living people in his empire. They were there. Their well-being really wasn't top on his priority. Empire ruling was. He left that to other people because he didn't really give a fuck. He wanted to just have his empire, So, like, you
food? I don't need food. Yeah. You deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. It's that kind of thing. At best, she's really not going to care about the living, At worst, she's going to want to murder them. Because, again, like, she's not living anymore.
She's not a regular undead.
No, she's also a Dracolich, and a cybernetic Dracolich now. So it's just like, it's really weird.
So she should have, like, at least a 40-something AC.
yeah, cybernetic.
She went from, like, a probably, like, honestly, Tarask level CR of 25 to probably, like, 30 to 35 now. You gave her, like, 5 to 10 CR because you got her intelligence and massive amount of magical power that she didn't have before. She was just basically a Tarask level beast before.
Yeah, now it's like one of the aspects of a god.
Yeah.
Basically.
Granted, the Elder Dragon guy is probably like a CR 30 wizard man, but because he has like ancient magical knowledge and probably access to dragon magic that no mortal would be able to use just because of his existence, and he technically has the soul of a dragon in a human body. So
yeah, human bodies are limiting.
They are, they are, unfortunately for him. But probably still as ridiculous as you are, because he's just like
throws still out, like a mega powerful wizard.
Yeah, just hides around and doesn't really give a flying rat's ass. His time period passed. He just he decided to I guess it's the entire thing is, as long as people don't go extinct, he's fine. He kind of likes people enough for that. It's like, we should make sure you guys don't kill yourselves off.
That'll be hard with Kaz around.
Honestly, that's why Kaz might go away. But yeah, so Chunarath.
It's an experience.
Was there Friday?
Yeah, there was a Friday thing. We killed some bugs and then a wizard.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't kill the wizard. We broke his hands.
That wizard fight. So first of all, we met some guys that are kind of rude, and so it's like, fine, whatever. We'll go find your leader so we can get this crap over with.
Yeah.
And we go, and we're walking, and we see, because we have dumb passive perception of, a 23 and a 17 or something. Someone took Observant, so they're just they see everything forever. And it's kind of I'm like, hey, these things aren't our problem. Let's just walk around them and not get into a fight. And then that was my suggestion. It was the only suggestion because it's why should we fight them? So I wasn't going to offer an alternative because I already gave a suggestion of just walk around them.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, but what if people come over this way? It's we're really far outside of any town. If someone's walking on this road, that's their problem. And it's no, we should do something about it. So then our barbarian man was just I run in there. It's all right, I guess we're fighting these things. And then we killed them.
Yep.
And then we continued on. The leader dude, he's okay.
He's a mega himbo.
He's got big himbo energy. So he's just kind of I like to fight things, and I'm knowledgeable about fighting things. It's he was fine. And we had to fight this wizard thing, and I think I cast a single cantrip, and that's all I did for 3 rounds.
And then we had an argument about grappling.
Yeah, because it's I want to pin them.
Didn't want to do
it. It's okay. It's wait, do you have the grappler feat? Because pinning people is behind a feat in 5th edition. And they didn't have the feat. So we had to retcon 2 turns.
Yep. I didn't like the combat. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I understand trying to take the person alive, but I, as a spellcaster, can do 2 things. I can murder, and I can sleep. But I can't sleep if the entire party is gathered around the enemy. So, because we weren't trying to murder them, and the entire party was gathered around the boss, I did nothing for the whole fight, basically.
Yeah, I'm a melee character.
Yeah, I was gonna cast, I have a Faerie Fire spell, like a cantrip level 1, so it works for 1 turn. And I was I can cast that, except for it's only a 30-foot range, and they were 65 feet away. So I couldn't run up and cast it. So it's okay, well, I guess I'll Sacred Flame them or whatever. So I did some damage, and then everyone just dogpiled onto them. It's well, I don't think the little Faerie Fire thing will be much help now. And then it's oh, we're not murdering him.
I went that kid with the full intention of murdering, but apparently 2 people decided they didn't want to murder.
Yeah, I mean, by not murdering them, we'll probably get, some information, but, I don't know if it matters.
In character, it makes sense for my dude to want to kill this guy because the whole thing with his Blood Hunter order is they stop magic shit. This dude's a magic dude causing problems.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, we went to these other locations specifically for information, and we've really got nothing.
It really feels like we didn't get any information.
We got information that apparently someone already knew. We got information that we basically learned ourselves from just rolling checks. And the only thing that we actually learned was that the weird soul gem things can be like done. Something can be done with them, and that was it. That's all we learned.
This is like the main complaint I kind of have about the game is it feels like at times we're just because this is a thing about characters, and this is something that as a DM you kind of have to accept. Players only care about information that pertains to their character.
Yeah.
90% of the information we get is some background lore information about some random noble dude or some order, and I'm just like, okay, I'm not going to write that down.
Yeah, I don't think I've written down anything in like 2 episodes.
All the information we get is cool world building, but it doesn't help our characters.
It's the thing that, like, when you're hearing a lot of information, you make the notes on the stuff that you're like, that seems to help either what feels like the story or my character. It's sort of like, that's the kind of way I do notes when I'm in a game. It's like, oh, that name sounds important, that place sounds important, that thing I should know about, that sounds important. I'll make a note of that so I can remember that.
It's almost at times information overload.
Yeah.
When we have to spend like 40 minutes learning lore about this minor noble's family history that I don't care about.
Oh, you mean so it's a Pathfinder adventure path?
Yeah. Yeah, where they give you like all the information, but none of it is useful.
Yeah, here's a bunch of lore. Does it help anything in the party?
No.
Not really.
And also, how am I supposed to let the party know about this? Why does it matter? Does it matter to me?
When Cell starts assigning every object a gold value, that's where I'll start actually complaining.
Yeah, this front door, it's nice, it's gilded. If you tore it off its hinges, it'd probably worth 10 gold if you sold it to the right person. It's a door. It's a wooden door, so it probably weighs about 20 pounds, maybe.
Can't wait for you guys to find an adamantine trapdoor in the Grim Hall again. I'm gonna put it somewhere.
I'll just make an adamantine gate. It weighs 3 tons.
But now you have a large +2 dagger. And
you could technically steal it if you find a way to safely transport it.
Yep.
The Cyclops might have an adamantine trapdoor, maybe. I don't know.
The Friday game is fine. It's just at times it feels like we're getting literally nowhere, but we're being told about world information.
We feel like we're like spinning our wheels. It's like we have these 3 locations to go to and we'll get information. One of them we got
the Paladin Order we went to, we didn't get anything from.
Yeah, the Paladin Order, we got literally nothing by going there. The Order of Mutants or whatever, we got 1 out of 3 things because one of them was already known. Actually, 2 of them were already known.
Yep.
Because they basically, it was like, oh yeah, these things aren't native to here. Yeah, we knew that already. That doesn't help us at all. At least he paid us. Because like, I wasn't going to pay for that information. It was worthless.
No.
It's like, dude, you didn't help us at all. And then we're basically like, you should go to this place because it has this person who will know more about other things.
I think some of the information, hey, you should go to this place, which we were already going to go to.
Yeah, we were going to go there anyway. And then I guess we're going to detour. We're like so far away from where the quest started.
I don't know what we're doing anymore.
Yeah, we're going way up north. We're going to this one. It's not the capital. It's just like a big town.
We found a book that had like a date that kind of established a time limit, but the direction of the game is like, hey, you're going to have to travel months this way in the opposite direction. Yeah,
because we spent like 2 weeks on the road walking because of how far apart like these 2 big cities were. And then we're on a boat, thankfully, so we're like going at good speed.
Yeah,
but we're gonna have to walk again.
I just don't. Well, the boat can go up rivers because it's a long boat.
Yeah, but the river like ends at that town. We need to go north to go fight that one creature for our.
We do have to go north to deal with that shit.
And then in the north, we're gonna try and find one of your other soul shard things.
I don't really know what the direction of the game is right now.
Yeah,
it's kind of that situation, you know.
Well, again,
we're lost.
We're a little lost.
not great, but also it's like it's impossibly come back, because like I've definitely been in games where we've been really, really lost, and it does hurt the game overall, but like I've been ones you do find your way, so hopefully you'll find your way. You can hope.
Yeah. We needed, like, we have some goals, and honestly, we could probably do both things in a single session if we just hand-wave travel. You spend this much time traveling.
A lot of our session is doing travel rolls. Honestly, I'm at the point where I feel like we should just hand-wave those because it's taking way too long.
Yeah. So, I haven't marked down any rations because it's like, I don't care anymore.
Yep.
I
don't consume rations, so I don't.
Yeah, you don't.
There's actually nothing for me to do during this travel.
Yeah, you could hunt for us so we don't have rations. Which is like, you roll a survival check, you're done. But, I don't know.
Who knows?
Who knows? But
yeah. We need better direction than what we have.
Yeah.
We've been given like this, hey, there's this huge invasion happening, and you should probably stop it. And then, why don't you spend 2 months traveling the world so you can learn how to stop this invasion? That seems like an insane waste of time.
Who knows? It'll all become clear next session. Who knows?
Or not.
No.
But anyway, so that was our week in tabletop. It was an exciting week, it sounds like.
Ooh.
I hope everybody's enjoyed the show. Thank you for joining me, Lightning and Momo. We've been going for 3 hours, so we should probably end it now.
No, it's been a chatty session. Yeah,
it's been a.
There was a lot of pre-discussion and tabletop.
There was a lot of stuff here to talk about. Yep. You know, it's sort of like
some of it was quick, or some of it wasn't quick.
Well, it's sort of like I did want to like things like bring up, Wrath of the Righteous, because again, like it's Pathfinder adjacent. It's an important thing to talk about because it, if you want to do a video game version of it, sort of like if it was an age that Neverwinter Nights, the original one, was out, we'd probably talk about that if I was playing.
Yeah, man, that game is still good. I'll tell you.
Yep.
Maybe we should replay that.
I've never played it.
It's pretty good. Honestly, it makes up. It's very similar to doing the not the turn-based, the non-turn-based Wrath of the Righteous, except you only have one person, so you really only have to worry about one person, and maybe an NPC.
You can have like
hireling you can have, but you just have like one.
In the first adventure, you get one, and then I think at certain times narratively you will have two, but like it's usually for like a very, very short time. In the later, or the very, very last expansion, I think you can have a party of 3 or 4.
But still, you're just not getting a lot, and it's like it's so much better for that kind of game. It's better to not have a lot of people. I think that's the.
Well, actually, you don't have to do anything to them.
Yeah.
They can just do stuff.
Yeah, they just do stuff.
Yeah, you don't have to like, I need to go and switch turns and micromanage this person.
I guess that's one of the reasons that honestly, I never play the non-turn-based of Pathfinder or Wrath of the Righteous, because honestly, I can't control it. It's too much all at once.
Anyway,
I might stream tomorrow, as I've told people for my schedule. I'm trying to at least complete Chapter 3 of Wrath of the Righteous before October, because I've been talking about I have a bunch of the Resident Evils. I was thinking about just marathoning some Resident Evils for October.
Well, don't stream too much because I own you tomorrow.
You do owe me tomorrow, and I would probably do it like earlier in the day if I did it.
Yep.
But what time? I forget what time you said.
4 p.m. Eastern.
4 p.m. Eastern.
That'll give me 2 hours to chill after work, yeah.
Yeah, I made it later than the normal game that I run on Sundays, kind of specifically for like you to have more time, and potentially if other people wouldn't be freer earlier in the day, because that's my time.
Yeah,
so it's pretty early for me.
I'll figure out my schedule then for tomorrow. I might do that. I might, depending on what's going on, I might not, and then just do some extra streams during the week or something. I'll figure it out. But yes, I'll be doing more of that. Maybe some Stellaris, the Toxoids pack. I do want to do that, and then it'll lead us into October. should be doing Buccaneers this week. Should have the finale of Children of Wrath. I'm going to try to finale it.
Ooh.
Go back to the moon. 2 hours.
No. Fuck the moon.
I'm at this point in time where if I can't finale it, it won't be a long session the next episode kind of thing. You know, it'll be like maybe at most it would be like final resolution / what happens afterwards.
Yeah.
And maybe I would just add a little bit more what happens afterwards if I have to have an extra session.
Detailed description of Kazarin's execution.
Mm-hmm.
At least probably jail people coming after them.
Yeah. So anyway, can I get going? I hope everybody enjoyed the show. It was a little longer than normal. We normally go around like hour and a half to 2 hours. Long one. Hope you stuck with us. Should be back next week. I think for October 1st, I'm going to do the new time schedule for Discussing Tabletop because I'm implementing in 2 waves new stuff for Discussing Tabletop. The beginning of October, first wave, new time schedule. I'm thinking 6 p.m., but I'm going to try to like figure out what works best for me, switching the schedule. And, that's what I'm going to kind of put it at. So going to be later in the day. And then for the anniversary of the show, I'm going to be doing some kind of like stuff for that then, which I'm planning out, figuring that out. That's going to be later in the month. So expect cool things for Discussing Tabletop. We're probably going to keep the same format, honestly, because this format works pretty well. Just going to like update some of the veneer. And I've been thinking of like actually like, maybe sticking it on some other things for podcasts and stuff, recording the sound separately or something, or figuring out how to extract that separately.
I have done that. It can be a bit of work. If you're okay with putting in the time, you get a pretty good quality thing out of it. But you're going to be spending a couple hours editing. Yeah. I used to do a podcast. I didn't do the editing, thankfully, but I did do a lot of the planning and stuff.
Well, I can figure it out and see what's going on. So. Anyway, all right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.